Chapter 23, The Mine. The Mine. 10 minutes ago. Soliet Arn was walking alone in the mine tunnel. The dim corridor was heavy with the dampness and mono-infused dust that fluttered about. All manner of filthy substances clung to her body. As dirty and unpleasant as it was, her expression remained unchanged. She was silently advancing through the tunnel. By the time her red hair was thoroughly coated in dust, she reached a dead-end wall. Without a word, Soliet gripped her pickaxe. Red magic surged from her hand, adhering to the pickaxe. She swung it with all her might. Thud dash. She embedded it in the wall and detonated it. Boom. The area was devastated by the deeply channeled magic. All sorts of rubble were shattered, and she was picking up only the magic stones rolling out from within when. "Hey, is someone there?" A voice came from the other side of the blocked path. "Yes, someone is here." Soliet. In just 2 words, he recognized who she was. Soliet slightly furrowed her brow. "Who is it?" "It's Shiniskal. Do you remember me?" "Yes. I remember." Shiniskal. The subject of her swordsmanship report. "Really?" Thud. At that moment, a hole was made in the wall. Soliet took a few steps back. An eyeball appeared through the small hole. "We meet again." It was Shiniskal. He gave a smile with his eyes and then completely broke through the wall. Crash. Beyond the collapsed wall, he looked at her and spoke. "Thank you." Soliet tilted her head. What was he thanking her for? "I was trapped." The wall suddenly collapsed. "You saved me by breaking it." He pointed behind him. The path was buried in rubble. "I see. And also, that time." Shin scratched the back of his neck and slightly averted his gaze. He seemed somewhat embarrassed for some reason. "That time too. I was grateful you showed me the way." "The way?" "The girls' dormitory wall. I accidentally climbed over it." "Oh, so that was you. So, that pervert was this guy." Looking at the magic stones in his basket, Soliet spoke. "You've mined quite a lot." "Oh, this. It's easy if you know the trick." "The trick?" "Yeah. You just need to find the core of the magic stone by eye." "Want me to show you?" "No, thank you." Soliet declined. "No, I'll show you. Let's see." Ignoring her refusal, Shin looked around. "There are points in the mine too. The core of the mana vein. If you just strike there with a pickaxe, like this." Then he struck the wall with his pickaxe. Clang. A sound like striking metal echoed. That was it. There was no special change or trick, and Shin raised both arms in confusion. "Ah, this seems a bit hard. Just a moment." He pulled out the pickaxe and struck again. Clang. A slightly louder sound resonated. That was it. Shin wiped the sweat from his temples and spoke. "It's quite hard. This is, like hitting a moon rock, isn't it? Soliette crossed her arms. She looked at the wall with slightly narrowed eyes. It feels ominous. Are you sure that's okay? It's fine. Just one more hit should do it. Shin swung his pickaxe down again. Thud. Shin was confident this time. He smiled. Phew. It's done. Now. Suddenly, his words were cut off. His once beaming face hardened. He turned to look at Soliette, his neck creaking. Wait a minute. What did you just say? Pardon. What did you say? I said, is that okay? No, before that. Soliette answered obediently. I said, something feels ominous. Gulpshin swallowed his saliva. He licked his lower lip and asked again. Is that true? I'm not sure if it's true or false yet. I mean your feeling, your intuition. Yes, it feels ominous. Ah, damn it dash. Shin hastily pulled out his pickaxe. That was the moment. Dash. Something exploded within the wall. Soliette immediately grabbed Shin's arm and deployed a magic circle. The magic took the form of a fabric, wrapping around the two of them. It was a high-level magic circle, magic, guardian veil. Asterisk asterisk asterisk. I opened my eyes. The first thing I felt was a headache. Ugh. Holding the back of my head, I got up and looked around. Fortunately, Soliette was nearby. Huh. She looked just as groggy as if she had just woken up. She looked at me and asked. What happened? Sorry. My mistake. What mistake? I should have paid attention when Soliette first said it feels ominous. It seems that her intuition, which was like a ghost before the regression, is still accurate even now in her teens. Look at this. I pointed to a piece of magic stone that I had split in half. The magic stone, devoid of the color and texture of steel. It seems this was a strong magic stone. Not all magic stones are the same. Strong magic stone, water magic stone, synthetic magic stone, fire magic stone, etc. Among them, the strong magic stone is particularly dangerous. Because the magic nuclei are very strongly bonded, if you forcibly strike it, it explodes like just now. Soliette shook her head. That's impossible. What is? Don't you know why a strong magic stone is strong? Unless you wrap a strong force around a pickaxe, it won't break. Dot. She's right, in terms of magic. Unless I had strengthened the pickaxe with and hit the magic nuclei precisely without a single error using. Yet. It must have exploded on its own then. It's my fault, but there's no need to stubbornly correct her when she's saying it's not my fault. Soliette leaned against the wall and closed her eyes. Rest. The rescue team will be here soon. Aren't you going to mine? There are plenty of magic stones here. It seems like we fell to the bottom of the mine, a dump-like place, but the blue dots are clear all around. That's why it's not dark at all even without a single ray of light. It's a paradise of magic stones. Yes. I'm not mining. Soliette took out a cigarette from her pocket and lit it. As soon as she put her fingers to it, it caught fire. She seemed indifferent to the grades. I mumbled, looking up at the gaping ceiling. Well, you're not interested in college anyway. The ceiling is very high. It seems like we fell about 30 m, but there are no special injuries. It must be thanks to Soliette's magic circle. Why do you think I'm not interested in college? Soliette asked dryly. It was a somewhat irritated tone. I lowered my gaze slightly. Her eyes were sharply narrowed. College board, it's something the family forced upon you, right? At this, Soliette's expression grew icy. Through tightly clenched teeth, smoke from her cigarette flowed out like a frost. I seem to recall saying the same thing when you broke into the girls' dormitory that time. After taking only one drag from her cigarette, Soliette crushed it underfoot and said spoke. Don't push it. Her voice was laced with hostility. A clear warning not to cross the line. It seemed I might have misspoke a bit. Hat. I couldn't help but smile. It had been so long since I'd heard her speak like this. Her unchanged tone and voice, as pleasing to the ear as ever, almost brought tears to my eyes. Soliette furrowed her brow. What are you grinning at? Have you lost your mind? I shook my head in denial and retorted. What does it matter? Let me ask you, do you like your family? Soliette Arn. Before her regression, she had ranked second across the entire College Board continent, but she didn't enroll in any university. Instead, she mysteriously disappeared. Her sudden vanishing, after spectacularly conquering the year-end exams, was quite a shocking deviation. Soliette didn't answer. Instead, she clenched her fist. Thump thump, her neck shifted from side to side, making a threatening sound. No, right. Now, I was trying to cross that line. To trample it defiantly. To Soliette, who was much more raw and sensitive than her future self, and from a guy she'd only met twice. I couldn't help it. I'm not exactly sociable, having lived my life with revenge as my only goal. Your family is shit. The purpose of this life given to me is only to complete retribution. Everything else, especially interpersonal relationships, are nothing more than worthless trash. But even if my purpose is only that, I don't want to miss the opportunity in front of me. Did that shitty family of mine send someone like you? Soliette's tone became serious. No. Would the Arkneys hire someone like me? Well. She nodded without a doubt. It was a strangely convincing acceptance. So why do you keep acting tough? Do you want to die? I looked at Soliette, whose words were becoming increasingly harsh. The wall she was leaning against was studded with gemstones, which brightly illuminated her. The blue light spreading in her red hair. Her transparent eyes like jewels, and her lips tightly closed with determination and resolve. You know, I once loved the beautiful figure before me. Her existence was like a star to me, and I never failed to think of her whenever I looked up at the sky. It was such a trivial, fleeting emotion. Just. But to confess this feeling, to live loving someone, the time given to us is far too short. I need money. I pulled out a flyer from my pocket and handed it to her. Soliette laughed in disbelief. Was it you? The so-called expert? Well, yeah. I'm a quasi-expert. An expert who's been rolling around in the underground world where laws and ethics don't exist, in that crazy society. Delivery, cleaning, driving, background checks, stalking, searching. Come to think of it, they're all odd jobs, but still. Get lost. If you keep running your mouth without knowing anything, I might just kill you. Whoosh! Soliette burned the flyer. The ashes blew into my face. I do know, actually. I replied, nonchalantly. Why do you keep trying to distance yourself from the family? Shut up. Soliette put a finger to her lips. Her gaze was sharp as a blade, and the air turned icy. Watch your mouth. This is your last warning. This was the limit. One more step from here would be crossing the line. It didn't matter. Whether it was the last warning or not, we were running out of time. Soliette was wearing out even more severely than I was. She was already, to some extent, worn down to the point of destruction. I didn't want that. I didn't want her to die. Even if recovery was too much to hope for, I at least wanted her self-destruction to stop. The regression I experienced was the chance to save her. So. I said it. It's because of the nightmare, isn't it? With that single statement, the atmosphere shifted drastically. Uncontrolled mana flowed from her body, shaking the cave, and Soliette expressed her anger in the most explicit terms. This fucking bastard. She rose to her feet, her eyes burning like flames as she glared at me. Her threatening demeanor didn't scare me. It was rather cute, but one thing bothered me. Our eye levels didn't match. I was still the shorter one. I'm not teasing you. I'm saying I can help. I was sincere, but Soliette's complexion turned cold. She even began to gather magic in her hands. Is she going to attack me? Whoosh. Soliette shot a mass of magic upwards. It stretched out like a harpoon and stuck to the ceiling. Rot here for the rest of your life. She spat out the words and shot upwards, like a rocket. Wow. I mumbled, staring blankly upwards. That's about 30 meters. To pull out 30 meters of magic and use it like a wire. She's truly a monster. Left alone, I scratched the back of my head and bit my lower lip. I had acted impulsively, but now I was a bit worried. Did I do the right thing? Can my efforts move Soliette Arn even a single step? I should pray. At some point in the past, someone said my presence brings misfortune. That they became unhappy because of me. Thinking back now, it might have been true. People from my past life that I liked, loved, or admired. Those who liked me, helped me, thought of me. Everyone who was with me for whatever reason got hurt or died. Soliette was one of them. Before my regression, she pitied me and showed compassion. It was no different from how one treats a lost dog or cat, but I was okay with it. Because I loved her. Because she allowed me to. Was that why? Soliette Arn. 7 years from now, she would commit suicide. Oh my. Suddenly, a voice echoed in the darkness of the mine, interrupting my thoughts. Oh dear. Feigning surprise, she looked at me with exaggerated gestures as if to draw my attention. Chapter 24, The Mine. The Mine. Behind the mine. There's a woman looking at me, her hair a mysterious blend of gold and white, fluttering in the wind. Oh my. Elise, wide-eyed, feigning surprise. I felt a momentary headache. What is it now? What do you mean, what? Shouldn't you apologize first? I fell because of you. She pointed at the fragments of the mana stone. I clicked my tongue. When did you start listening? I have good ears. That meant from the beginning. As I sighed, Elise shook her head in what seemed to be contempt. Threatening Soliette with nightmare for money? Why are you even alive? Just overdose on mana stones and die. It's not just about the money. I know quite a lot about Soliette. Probably more than Soliette knows about herself. The woman I loved in the future is the same person who is connected to this present. Not about money. Do you like her? Elise snorted. For a moment, I was at a loss for words. I couldn't think of a rebuttal. Then Elise's mouth opened slightly. Her expression was filled with shock, contempt, and horror. I quickly changed the subject. That's not it either. There are people who rot from the inside out, who kill themselves, if you don't reach for them, if you don't forcibly bring them out. That's Soliette. That's why I deliberately provoked her. You need to objectify yourself. Do you think you're objectively better? Soliette dash. I'm in it for the money, okay. And keep it down. It's so hot. I started to take off my miner's uniform, then stopped. Oh, no. Why is it cold? The wind was chilly. So cold it felt like the sweat all over my body would freeze. I put the miner's uniform back on. Did you hurt your brain? Elise sighed and looked up at the ceiling. Soliette went up there, didn't she? Can't you do it? I'm not a high flyer. I'm not even a knight aspirant. Besides, could you stop talking? You started talking first, you know. Got a hole in your brain. That's when it happened. SSSSSSSSS. A strange breathing sound echoed from somewhere. Both of us froze. SSSSSSSSS. A wind sound, like a cry, swept through the underground. An abnormal chill froze our bodies, and our breath fogged up with each exhale. Elise swallowed calmly. I looked into the darkness of the mine. My body flinched almost instinctively. It's a ghost. A magical entity was detected in the an indistinct outline and faint form. A chill radiating like an aura. An unstable magical energy glowing red like eyes, a power resembling a human. More accurately, a power trying to mimic a human, a ghost. A ghost. SHH. I carefully moved my foot. Thump. I kicked a piece of rock. At that moment, the ghost turned to look this way. Elise spoke in a tone that suggested she was in agony. Why don't you just kill yourself? I looked at it. Its aura was already dyed red. Ghosts instinctively detest the living, and one that has taken on such a human form would be difficult for me to handle at my current level. I'd likely be cursed the moment I come into contact with it. Now that I've been spotted, I can't run away either. I looked back at Elise. She smirked confidently. What are you looking at? Handle it yourself. Am I the only one here? You're here too, aren't you? I can run away on my own. She really has no manners. Well, I'd rather die than beg her for help. Just then, I saw something. Wait. A faintly glowing blue dot within the ghost's ethereal form. It's tiny, almost like dust, but it's definitely visible. The magic core. I picked up a pickaxe. Elise furrowed her brows. A pickaxe? That's just like you. So like you. Ghosts are magical entities. Therefore, the way to confront them is through magic. The weak point of a ghosts are their magic core. However, it's too small to observe with the naked eye, and it constantly moves around like a fluid, so it can't be destroyed with physical force. I recited verbatim what I had once read in a textbook. It's all true. There's no falsehood in textbooks. The textbook says so. Go get yourself killed. Elise looked disgusted, but right now, I can see it. The magic core, no bigger than a grain of sand, floating within the ghost's magic, is clearly visible to my clearer than a pebble. Hey! Come at me, you bastard! I shouted at the ghost. Ha! Elise let out a hollow laugh as if she was amazed. Dash! Almost simultaneously, the ghost shrieked, filled with mana. I gripped the pickaxe tightly. I activated throughout my body, including my dynamic vision. The ghost charged, cutting through the air. Its leap was like a gust of wind. But with my amplified nervous system, it was enough time for me to strike it. Screech! The moment it came close, I swung the pickaxe. Pinpoint. The pickaxe blade precisely hit the magic core. Whoosh! The ghost, having its magic core pierced, immediately dispersed, and with a thud something fell to the ground as it vanished. It was the remnants of the magic core. I put it in my pocket. What? A dull sound echoed from behind. Where did it go? Huff, huff. Elise was turning her head left and right. It seemed like she was looking for the ghost that had already died. I spoke to her. Ghosts also have magic cores, you know. I saw it and stabbed it. That's nonsense. Dash. Ah, no need for a thank you. I am your benefactor, after all. Elise was momentarily stunned, but soon furrowed her brows and took a step forward. But if a ghost appeared, then that means dash. She stumbled over something. Nearly falling over, she irritably looked down. What? Her eyes widened in surprise. Ah! Elise, who was stepping back in shock, stumbled. I approached the spot. Something was buried in the dirt. I looked closer. Something happened here. It was a corpse. The skeletal remains of a person, dressed in miner's clothing. Ugh, ugh, clean that up. Ignoring Elise, who seemed to be having trouble breathing, I noticed a notebook in the pocket of the miner's clothing. I picked it up and opened the pages. It was worn out, but the writing was legible. March 1st, 1995. 1995. It was a work log from 18 years ago. Next week is my son's birthday. The little rascal seems to want some expensive sneakers, but what can I do? I'll just have to scrape together some overtime pay. What are you looking at? Elise, who had covered her nose and mouth with a handkerchief, approached. A work log. The name is Hans. A man. He has an 11-year-old son. It's 18 years ago, so the child would be about 29 now. Elise responded indifferently. Accidents are common in mines. Indeed. I flipped the page with a furrowed brow. Lately, there are guys who claim to see strange things in the mine. We've been working overtime a lot lately, so the inexperienced young ones are bound to be tired. I decided to take over from today. What could happen from a few days of overtime? The warning signs were already there, but Hans volunteered for overtime to earn money. And the result was, it's a ghost. I saw a ghost. A ghost is haunting this mine. It's definitely a ghost. Those guys who said they saw something were right. No, it wasn't something. Damn it. But my family will come to save me. If I just wait a little, Libra will. The following pages were hard to read. The handwriting became more and more rough, the hunger that seemed to eat his own flesh, the guilt and longing for his family, the resentment towards Libra. The self-blame for volunteering for overtime. A haunted place. Can't be used as a regeneration mine. That's when Elise spoke. I snapped back to reality. Ghosts are beings made up entirely of magic. They often occur in places with a high concentration of mana, such as under the ground, in the mountains, in the deep sea, and on remote islands. Legally, mines haunted by ghosts are closed. It's because of the amendment to the human rights law 20 years ago. The curse of a ghost is even more vicious than cancer. That can't be. I shook my head. The Libra of the past already knew that ghosts were haunting this place. The person in charge of the mine, or someone from the Libra family, would have encountered a ghost while searching for Hans. And they would have briefly contemplated. Whether it was a day, 2 days, or if they didn't contemplate at all. As a result, Libra chose to bury the living between the upper and lower floors. That can't be? Do you even know what the law is? Of course, Jade wouldn't have known about that past. The process of inheriting Libra's succession started 7 years ago, and that rascal didn't even know what he had in the first place. It's a reclaimed mine that's about to open soon. Libra will never give it up. So, the development from here is obvious. Libra, Jade, will try to cover up this fact again, by any means necessary. Instead of that. No, they can't give it up. I bit my lip. I gripped the pickaxe tightly. Thud. I smashed it down on the remains. Chapter 25, The Mine. The Mine. Thud. I struck down the skeleton with the pickaxe. Elise, startled, grabbed my shoulder. What are you doing, Dash? So, are you going to tell them? I shook off her hand. I looked into her eyes and said, you go out and tell people. I'm Elise of the Petra family, this mine is haunted by ghosts. This corpse was buried alive by the Libra family to cover up the ghosts. At that, Elise's complexion calmly settled. She stepped back slightly, crossed her arms, and glared at me. Go out there and say that. Fight with Libra. I'll cheer for you. Clap, clap. I even clapped in front of her nose. Elise remained expressionless. You can't, can you? You, too, against Libra. At this point, no family can match the power of Libra. Petra or the like are not a family that can stand against them. Especially now, with the re-election of the council only 1 year and 9 months away. So. Elise finally opened her mouth. You're going to clean it up voluntarily. Yeah. If Jade's side happens to find the corpse, it will be melted in molten iron. Even if they don't find the corpse, it will be buried here forever. Rather than that, I'll take it. I'll clean it up. Why not? I disassembled the skeleton with a pickaxe. Collarbone, shoulder bone, femur, tibia, fibula, skull, rib, jawbone, sacrum. I divided them into manageable pieces and stuffed them all into a duffel bag. You're out of your mind. I've seen all kinds of loyalty. Elise mumbled with a blank look in her eyes. Well, it's better to be a pet dog of Libra than to live like a dog. It's quite a fitting survival strategy for a parasite like you. Suddenly her tone turned cold. Raw contempt stabbed my eardrum. Do you think they'll recognize you for that? Libra, an orphan like you. I didn't answer. Instead, I shouldered the duffel bag full of remains. Whatever. Elise, who quickly loosened her expression, sat on a chunky rock. She crossed her legs and continued. Struggle on your own. I'm curious to see what will happen. Screech. Suddenly, a horn sounded. A shout came down from above. Are you okay down there? It was the rescue team. I quickly turned to Elise. Hey. You go up first. And, we were never together. You didn't see any ghosts. I pushed Elise and handed her the duffel bag. Elise furrowed her brow. Why are you passing it on? They'll suspect if I have it. What a nonsense. Why would I protect Libra dash? Oh, then say it. Go up and say it. That you saw a ghost here. If you shit your pants, Jade will think it's good. Right? He was bragging about reopening the mine. Elise, who bit her lip slightly, seemed to be considering, then let out a small sigh. Then she spread 3 fingers. Middle finger, index finger, thumb. Magic formed a triangle at her fingertips. It clung to the duffel bag and shrank its size to that of a thermos. My eyes bulged. Wow, what's that? First time seeing a shrinking spell. It's the first time I've seen a high schooler use it. Pitiful. Elise sneered and put the duffel bag in her pocket. Just then, the rescue team shone a light down. I hid myself, and Elise walked towards the spot, waving her hand. Over here. Over here. Ah yes. We'll lower the rope. I sat back and retreated. I should wait for about 5 minutes. Come up. Yes. I'm coming. While Elise was climbing up, I opened Hans's work diary again to kill time. Reading each page as if chewing it over, the last sentence of the last page. The words he had written with such force gripped my hand. I wanted to give a birthday present. Dad is sorry. The father buried here was one of the countless people killed by Libra. One of the countless victims who lived an ordinary life and then died meaninglessly in an instant. Someone's father, like my own. Why are you sorry? Why are they all assholes? I clenched my teeth and closed the diary. But this time, something caught my eye. A rabbit doll, lost and rolling in the dark corner of the cave. Of course, it wasn't Hans's. Then. Is there anyone else there? Ah. I'm here. There's someone here. I stuffed the doll into my arms and shouted. Asterisk asterisk asterisk. The task was temporarily suspended under the pretext of lunchtime. In the meantime, the Libra family, more precisely, the execution team, was dispatched, and they temporarily blocked the collapse of the underground and resumed the class. I will end the college board's task. So, at 7 p.m. the students who came out of the mine after half a day of mining were all covered in sweat and dust. Chadrick said, looking around them. I heard there was a small disturbance. However, such things are commonplace in mines. Elise peered around for Soliette. The girl at the front had a bulging duffel bag and was covered in black dust. She must have worked hard. Therefore, I hope that disturbance can also be considered part of the task. The total score for this task is 4 CP. Not only magical abilities but also endurance, perseverance, and quick-witness can be evaluated. Whether the seniors are listening to his words is unknown. They're all exhausted and panting. Now submit the magic stones. Elise immediately approached Chadrick and offered her duffel bag. Chadrick raised an eyebrow. You've collected a lot. It's simple. She gave a slight smile and turned around, and one person suddenly came to mind. Shiniskal. His duffel bag full of bones is now in my pocket. In other words, he doesn't have a tool to collect magic stones. What's with that guy? Just then, Kane muttered. Shin was in the place he was looking at. Shin, standing in front of Chadrick, took out the magic stones from his pocket, not a duffel bag. It looked about 20. Hat. Looks like he was properly trapped. No, Kane. It's because of you that Shin ended up like that. Why do you lock people up like that? Layla, who had come up beside him, puffed up her cheeks. What? Why are you suddenly like this? You're a bastard. What's with you? Did you eat something wrong? Elise crossed her arms without a word. She shook her head back and forth. Pathetic. Sacrificing your grades for Libra won't make them recognize you. The talent they want is not at your level. We will grade based on the quality and quantity of the submitted magic stones. The grading results will be announced this Sunday. Now, dismiss. Finally, Chadrick announced the end of the task. The students began to disperse one by one. Kane. How many did you dig? Layla asked. Kane smiled proudly. About 500. You're lying. 500 won't fit in a duffel bag. Elise glanced at Shin as she walked down the road with her group. He was already with some officers. Shin student. Can we talk for a moment? Was he caught? Well, if he has the guts to show nightmare in front of Soliette, he'll handle it well. Elise. What are you doing? Layla leaned into her face. Nothing. Elise was startled, but she passed by pretending not to care. Asterisk asterisk asterisk. Shin student. Can we talk for a moment? About this incident. At the entrance of the mine. As I was about to go down to the index, a man showed his police ID and spoke. If it's okay with you, shall we go? You must be busy studying, so there's no need to go to the station. Let's talk inside. He pointed to the police car parked on the side of the road. I looked him up and down. He seemed to be in his mid-40s, model-like, slim yet sturdy. He was neat from head to toe, but his sunglasses were annoying. Could he be one of Libra's people? Yeah, fine. I got into the passenger seat without a word. The inside of the police car was tidy. There was a radio, a magic spell injector, a black box. What did you see there? The man asked as he sat in the driver's seat. Instead of answering, I stared at his sunglasses. Why are you wearing sunglasses in the car? It's even night. Answer the question. Then I have no choice but to ask if you have a warrant. Dot. His lips twitched. I leaned back into the car seat and said, let's be courteous in the car. Dot sigh. He sighed and took off his sunglasses. I looked into his eyes. Iris holding a gray hue. Now answer. Ha. I laughed without realizing it. I knew right away because of his eyes. Billingham Kantar from the northern part of Edsala, Creel. Don't laugh. What did you see there? He is a vassal of Libra. But he's not Jade's man, not Derek's man, not Gianna or Zia's man. He is a man of Cyril, precisely Cyril Draco Libra Mullik. The current head who oversees the succession competition of Libra, the monster who elevated Libra to its current status. He's been serving the guy who harbors billions of worms inside him for over a decade, so there's no need for unnecessary lies. I saw a ghost. I answered honestly. Then, one of Billingham's eyebrows moved slightly. Did you see it alone? Yes. Alone. This was a lie. Huh. Billingham swallowed a small breath. I added a word while looking at the rearview mirror. There was also a corpse there. A corpse. Billingham pulled out a file. He frowned as he speed-read it. You didn't mention this to the rescue team. I answered indifferently. Of course I didn't. I didn't mention the ghost either. Then he looked at me. I turned my head and faced him as well. Why? He seemed to be asking for an explanation, and I gave him one. Because I disposed of it. Dot. Suddenly, his gaze tilted slightly. His eyes scrutinized me from my shoes to the top of my head. Please properly maintain the floor. There, it seems like strong magic stones have been produced as the mine regenerates. So it can withstand even a magic stone explosion. Concrete won't do. It was my advice. Billingham, who had been listening silently, asked calmly. Why did you dispose of the corpse? Why? You know. Didn't you investigate? A response in the form of a question. Billingham shook his head. We, the police, don't just go around investigating people. Ah. I smiled. Why are you acting like an amateur? Police never work alone. The principle is to work in pairs. And this car. The black box doesn't work, does it? I tapped the black box. Even when I pressed the button hard, it was unresponsive. Those Libra guys strangely hate video recording. Dot. Billingham was momentarily speechless. Was it because things were too sudden, or did he think it wasn't necessary to be perfect when dealing with a student? Or, did he intend to clean me up casually? I looked beyond the car's front glass. You just asked why I did such a thing. The scenery was bleak. The sun that had set was dark, and the mountain range had already turned pitch black, making it impossible to see even an inch ahead. It's simple. My dry voice flowed from between my teeth. Because I'm also a person of Libra. Chapter 26, The Mine. The Mine. Silence filled the car. Occasionally, the leather seat creaked, and the stale air circulated. Sigh. A soft sigh. Soon, he spat out a sentence laced with a hollow laugh. I know. You're the son of Daleiskel, the fallen star of Libra. Shiniskel, who grew up in the Libra orphanage for 13 years. That's enough reason, isn't it? Thud. Billingham closed the file. He put his sunglasses back on. Yes. Your judgment and actions were clumsy. But the higher UPS might appreciate it. That's very kind of you. I extended my hand to Billingham. It was a handshake. Seeing this, he twisted his lips. Well. Since you say you're a person of Libra, let me add something. Are we not at the handshake stage yet? I spoke instead. Billingham, who had his line stolen, rubbed his nose and just nodded. I withdrew my hand. Have it your way, then. I immediately opened the car door and stepped out. As I was about to walk away alone, a car with its engine running sped towards me. What now? As I glared, the driver's window rolled down with a whirring sound. Here. Billingham handed me a thick envelope. I took it and asked. What's this? It's what you call a gift card. Libra department store gift cards. 10 of them, each worth 500 Ren. There's one more thing. Something like a card. There was even a black card in the envelope. A simple card engraved only with Libra and a celestial symbol. An unlimited black card, perhaps. Every holiday season, Libra runs a program. It's usually for college students, but students from Index can participate as well, if they have a recommendation card. The Libra Development Program. Under the guise of nurturing future talents, it's an opportunity for super elite education, training, and competition provided by Libra. Libra is a Libra. They always give back. After saying this, he closed the window. Vroom. He stepped on the accelerator as if to speed away, and the police car raced down the mountain road. I muttered while watching its rear bumper. Always rewards, my ass. But it's a result, nonetheless. The card I now held in my hand. It's not as impressive as an unlimited black card, but with this, I can take a big step closer to Libra. But Billingham Kantar. He was one of the most awkward opponents I faced while dealing with Libra. A super elite who passed known as the final boss, as a current senior knight from Uppsala National University. He wasn't that far away after all. Before my regression, during the days when I was known as a sniper of Libra, it took me a full 8 years to face him one-on-one. Now, I've confronted him even before graduating from high school. I chuckled at the absurdity. Snap. Then someone snapped their fingers. Startled, I turned to look. It was Elise. Why does she keep appearing out of nowhere? Again? What now? At that, Elise's face contorted as if she had smelled trash. You really are incredibly stupid, aren't you? A goldfish. She handed me a duffel bag the size of a thermos. Oh, right. I had forgotten about this. I took the duffel bag, but I was still in a state of confusion. You'll have to undo this. It'll undo itself in 30 minutes, so stop venting out your stupidity. Elise frowned and turned away. She started to walk down the path, but then she suddenly stopped in the middle. She repeatedly clenched and unclenched her fists, then turned to look at me again. Why aren't you coming down? What? Why? Don't you have to go? Are you going to stay here forever? I don't know why she's suddenly acting like this. Did she eat something wrong? Suddenly, a fact dawned on me. I checked the time. I looked around at the surroundings. 8 p.m., a dark forest leading to a mine. The path itself is wide enough for a car, but the trees are densely packed on both sides, and the chilly surroundings give off a creepy vibe. Go ahead first. I'll follow, I said and started walking down the path. Only then did Elise start walking again. From behind, even her simple walk seemed perfect and aristocratic. She, who seemed flawless, actually had a fatal weakness. A claustrophobia and panic isolation disorder that was almost like a disease. She can't be alone in confined spaces, and even in open spaces, she can't stand places that feel closed off like night, sea, and mountains. So even now, as she walks, she keeps glancing back. Because she can't be alone. When our eyes met a few times, I said, I won't run away. Go ahead without worrying. Run away? I don't understand what you're saying. With your goldfish level intelligence, you might get lost. I get it. I waved my hand dismissively. Elise snorted and walked ahead. I walked down this path aimlessly. But there was always a gap of 10 steps between Elise and me. Probably a distance maintained by Elise. Neither too close nor too far. After about 30 minutes of walking, I saw the headlights of a luxury sedan not far away. It was Elise's chauffeur waiting for her. There it is. Are we good now? I'm going ahead. Are we good now? What's supposed to be good? Elise asked back. I was about to leave her without a word, when suddenly. Oh, right. This. I pulled out a doll from my pocket. It was a rabbit doll with one ear torn off. Is this yours? I found it. At that moment, Elise swallowed. She stood still for about 10 seconds, as if buffering. Is it mine? Elise shook her head. Is that so? Then it must have belonged to the skeleton. I threw the rabbit on the ground. Elise's eyes followed it. Well, even the future political prodigy is just an 18-year-old high school student now. Her poker face is severely lacking. Take care. Today's event, let's bury until we die. You mean bury it until we die? What language is bury until we die? Go. I passed her and turned on my smartphone. I accessed a certain website. The famous site developed and launched directly from the infamous underworld, the community where everything from the underworld gathers, is the dark web. Right now, I'm only using it to cash in department store gift cards, but it's possible to hire experts in almost all fields, such as laundering, auctions, errands, etc. Dark web. Easy Cash is my ID, and DP is the currency of this dark web. The exchange rate is 1:1 with the Edsela currency, Ren. The 900 DP is from cashing in the gift card I received for doing Ray's task on her behalf. I clicked the button. Issue mission, list of missing persons from 15 years ago. The mission cost is a whopping 500 DP. It's like life to me, but well. Thanks to you guys, I earned 2,500 Ren. Let's consider it a conversion. Asterisk asterisk asterisk. A smoothly advancing luxury sedan. Inside, the driver glanced at the young lady and asked, "Was the task okay?" "It was fine." Elise answered vaguely. Right now, her attention was focused elsewhere. The rabbit doll on her lap. The torn cookie. Right now, a certain discomfort is blooming in her mind. It's not because of this rabbit. Just 15 minutes ago. The meaningful words Shiniskal gave before he left. Are we good now? Yes. The driver looked back at her. Elise waved her hand. Look ahead, ahead. Yes. Are we good now? His words have a strong nuance that he has done something for her. Was it necessary to say such a thing? He just walked down with her. Could it be? Because of this rabbit he picked up, she keeps having excessive thoughts? She ends up speculating. Elise closed her eyes for a moment. She replayed Shin's words. There it is. Are we good now? I'm going ahead. Those 3 words, they fit too perfectly. If by any chance. Sigh. She sighed. She shook her head. That's impossible. Except for Petra's closest aide and her attending physician, no one knows about her trauma. So it's a needless worry. She must be too sensitive because it's her senior year. In the first place, Shiniskal is not someone she should care about. He looks like an ape and has the intelligence of a goldfish. I'll sleep a bit. Tell me when we arrive. Yes. Understood. Elise leaned her head on the headrest. Zzz. She fell asleep immediately. Asterisk asterisk asterisk. Saturday afternoon. Taking a high-speed train called ML from the capital of Edsala, it took an hour to reach a rural village called San Peru. Looking around the scenery here, rather than apartments, luxury villas, or lavish mansions, small houses are tightly packed along the coast like barnacles. If you walk the streets at noon, you can occasionally hear the sound of waves, and the grass on the not-so-high hills is tousled by the sea breeze. I found a small house in this peaceful village. I pulled my cap down low and compared the address. San Pru, Yan Street, A059. This is the place. I raised my hand and knocked. Knock, knock. After a brief wait, the door swung open without hesitation. Quite surprising. Who are you? A man in his late 20s tilted his head as he looked at me. Are you Eden Zaldan? Yes. But, what's the matter? I peered inside the house. His mother, wife, and what appeared to be his son and daughter were gathered in the living room. It was a typical weekend in a family home. I spoke to him. I'm from the Edsala post office. Mr. Eden Zaldan. Is your father Hans Zaldan? Huh? Eden seemed taken aback by the sudden question. I asked again. Is he not? Yes, he is. Yes. The remains of Hans Zaldan have been found on Mount Dakin in the capital of Edsala. I said it as dryly as possible. I had appropriately altered the factual details. From the Limto mine to Dakin Mountain, a 20-minute distance. What do you mean? Perhaps it was too sudden. Eden gasped for breath. His lips were parched, and his arms and legs trembled weakly. I delivered the lie to him. It seems he fell while climbing the mountain and could never get up again. Sometimes, a lie can be easier. It can be better to be deceived. After all, before I knew the cause of my father's death, I was happiest showing my allegiance. So, this coffin. Tears welled up in Eden's widened eyes. It's Hans Zaldan. He immediately ran outside and knelt in front of the coffin. His mother, who had followed him out, gasped for breath as she looked at my face. I am, the wife of Hans Zaldan. I see. Pretending to be a civil servant, I handed her some documents. Then, please sign here. This is a dental record analysis. The guys are so perfect that they do all this if you give them money. Father. Then Eden opened the coffin. Inside were a miner's uniform and a skeleton. Only the name tag Hans on the chest defined him, the skeleton I had barely assembled. The moments that followed, how should I describe them? Hans's son was sobbing, clutching the coffin, Hans's wife was clutching her chest, sitting down crying, and the grandchildren who knew nothing just blinked their eyes. Thank you. Suddenly, I heard Hans's son muttering. A word of thanks. I hesitated for a moment because I didn't know what he was thankful for, but soon I understood. Just if someone found my father's remains for me. The traces of him that I can't even find now, the traces that he was with me. Wouldn't I feel a similar emotion and say the same thing? Knowing that, isn't that why I came here? Yes. I quietly looked at the remains. There was no expression on the skeleton, but somehow it's. Chapter 27, Weekend. Elise Petra's schedule is busy even on Saturdays. Intensive supplementary training at the Salinasio Academy, private tutoring on the magic body, magic spells, and Latinal, and even on-site lessons to prepare for future mage courses. She wakes up at 4 a.m. and works until 10 p.m., a grueling 18-hour day, before returning late to her villa. Elise. We thought you weren't coming, you're the main character here. Oh, Salinasio's top student. Hey, you're getting prettier by the day. The party was in full swing. Music blared from the speakers, lights flashed, and the parking lot was filled with luxury cars. Not only the seniors from Index, but also alumni who had already entered prestigious universities had gathered for this senior party. Elise. I heard you got perfect scores on all your assignments. The college board is making it tough this year. There are even rumors that a few people might die. It'll probably work out in your favor though. Is that so? Elise responded to them with appropriate warmth. She wore a faint smile, but also radiated a coldness that said, "Don't bother me too much." She greeted everyone briefly and then headed up to the second-floor balcony. Kane and Layla were already there. Ah, you're here, Elise. Shit, my grades weren't adjusted. Kane spoke, clutching a whiskey bottle. Some bastard must have stolen my answers and used them. I was lucky to make up for it in the mine, but it was a close call. Elise nodded and sat down in a chair. She closed her eyes slightly, letting the cool breeze soothe her tired body. Oh! Suddenly, Layla shouted. Elise was startled. They don't even give me time to rest. The number has dropped to 90. It seemed that the number of students who have been dropped from the college board had been announced. Although it's only the University Association that knows how many points each student has, the total number of students is announced in advance by the school. Ah, finally. That bastard Shin failed twice in a row, right? Kane stretched out. I hated seeing that bastard's face. It feels like a thorn has been removed. He then gulped down his whiskey. Sometimes, Kane says what Elise wants to say. It's a natural process. However, Elise didn't want to feel anything for Shiniskal. Useless talent should be eliminated. It was overconfidence in the first place for such a person to challenge the college board. Her disdain was as natural as breathing, and the news of his disappearance made her feel much better. But I'm going to mission. When Layla puffed up her cheeks, Kane snorted. Hey. You were the one who hated him the most. You even said you'd cut off his fingers. He was ugly back then. He had a disgusting scar on his bald head. You're crazy about looks. Isn't he still bald? Just as Kane was muttering in disbelief, Elisa's phone rang with a classical ringtone. The liquid crystal displayed a name that was quite surprising. Why would Soliet? Wow. Soliet. Layla was making a fuss. Kane showed interest as well. Isn't she coming to the party? I sent her a direct message. She left me on read though. Shush. Elise put her finger to her lips. Kane shut up immediately, and Layla mimed zipping her mouth shut. She pressed the accept button on the screen. Hello. Hey. This is Soliet. Yeah. I know. What's up? Soliet was the one to call first. It was quite refreshing, being the first time since that incident. I wonder if we still have that much of a connection left. Dash. But Soliet didn't say anything. She seems to want to ask something but kept hesitating. If you have something to say it. That's the thing. Ask. It's okay. Elise chuckled and looked at her nails. They were nicely trimmed, but they were broken because of the mine. I need to take care of them right away. Do you know about Chiniskal? Soliet spat out an unexpected question. The highest grade apartment in Edsala, Presium. A penthouse of 150 pyong, equipped with a magic training room, a physical training room, and an armory. Soliet was alone there. No servants, no cleaners, no chefs, no one was allowed in. She doesn't allow anyone in her personal space. Because it's bothersome if she's not alone. Because she doesn't want to care about others, not even a little bit. Above all, because they interfere with her work. Didn't I tell you last time? He's a lunatic. Elisa's voice flowed from the smartphone. Soliet nodded. I see. Right. I'll add one more line to that. He's a seriously twisted, self-obsessed lunatic. For some reason, Elle seems to hate Chin a lot. I see. Don't worry about it. He's already confirmed to be disqualified with 2 failures. Click. She hung up the phone. Then she looked around her room. In her room, which is as big as an average house, there were many pictures. There were many scrapped articles. They were all hanging on the wall. The whole room was filled with them. All of them were Soliet's efforts to uncover some truth. There are too many questions in this case, with too many moments and too many people involved. The time, pain, and death of that day are nailed into her heart like a stake. Soliet looked up at the wall. A sentence written in red pen. She had friends too. Precious people she had spent over 12 years with. They all died. No, they were murdered. Soliet looked at a corner of the wall. A newspaper headline was attached there. Nightmare. A pun replacing night with night. A nickname referring to the monster who sequentially murdered 30 knights or knight aspirants. However, the news articles that followed were decidedly bright and cheerful. Exclamation marks were liberally sprinkled throughout the sentences, and the people in the photos were all smiles. Thump. Soliet, who was staring at it, clenched her fist. She gritted her teeth. The case ended with a suicide. However, So Liet had met him before he committed suicide. She had seen the man the media claimed to be the nightmare. When she looked into his eyes, so Liet instinctively knew. Her intuition told her. He was not the real culprit. He was a phantom created by the media, a scapegoat put forth by the real culprit. Therefore, there was no need to feel saddened or relieved. Because she was still on the hunt. For him, who must be somewhere out there, breathing, blending in as an ordinary human. But these days, the investigation was not making any progress. She was acutely aware of her limitations. She didn't even hope for help from her family. She had been treated like a mental patient suffering from PTSD, no matter how many times she explained. What she needed was simply a person. A person who could be used and discarded as needed, for a fair price. A human tool. Russell. So Liet pulled a flyer out of her pocket. She looked at it and replayed the day's events. About someone who had been talking about the nightmare. She quietly reviewed it. About his words, which had crossed the line long ago. Your family is shit. A dull, contemptuous voice. Pretending to know everything about her, when he knew nothing. I do know, actually. Why do you keep trying to distance yourself from the family? Just that was enough to make her grit her teeth and twist her insides. That damned bastard, he dared to touch her raw nerve. It's because of the nightmare, isn't it? Nightmare. That monster is already her nightmare. Not a single day has passed without dreaming of that day. The moment she falls asleep, she is absorbed into the swamp of memories. Shattered blades, torn arms, gouged out eyes. Their disassembled gruesome pieces lying in the morgue. She can't move forward from that moment, nor can she step back. That's the end of the dream. When she wakes up from the nightmare, everything is empty and quiet. It's unclear whether she's alive or dead. In a space where she is alone, she barely confirms life by piecing together the shattered reality. Fuck. So Liet pressed hard on her forehead. Dizziness shook her body. But she shouldn't be swayed by such a guy. Deep breath. With her eyes closed, she regulated her breath. After calming down slowly, she opened her eyes again. She looked at the screen of her laptop. A recording of Shiniskel's swordsmanship in class. Soliet's assignment report, which she had been watching and analyzing for an hour. The one-line review, mediocre. So mediocre that it's inferior. Knights call this kind of swordsmanship low grade. A patchwork of swordsmanship picked up here and there, hastily put together, often used by low-grade knights. His skill level seemed high, but his overall swordsmanship was nothing to write home about. Even that skill level was achieved through easy techniques, so there was no need for praise. Half a point out of 5. Bang. Having finished the report, Soliet closed her laptop irritably. Tap 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 tap. The temporary residence in the old mansion, where a fireplace was burning. A lazy Sunday morning that felt like my body was slowly roasting. Having returned from San Peru, I lay in bed, looking at the magic core. It's a ghost's magic core that I caught in Limto mine, and I'm considering where to use it. The byproducts of ghosts are usually used as catalysts or intermediates. Of course, like other magic cores, it can be made into accessories, but there's a superstition that using a ghost's magic core will bring a curse. In fact, its appearance is somewhat eerie compared to other magic cores. Should I say it throbs as if it's alive? I'll take 3,000 ren. Of course, I'm thinking of selling it. I need to start cancer treatment between April and May at the latest. I opened the app on my smartphone. Auction. Dark auction. An underground auction house operated on the dark web. My account level is still low, so I'll be ripped off with appraisal fees and commissions, but there's no other route for a miner like me. As I was about to take a picture with one hand while holding the magic core in the other. Suddenly, my palm turned blue. The magic core on top of it melted away in white. An unexpected dissolution. The liquefied substance seeped through the incredibly short mana circuit in my palm. What the fuck? I shook my hand in a hurry, but it was already too late. The transparent liquid quickly penetrated my skin. I blankly looked at my palm. A faint blue light flowed through my skin before fading away. What the hell? My money. I muttered blankly. Is this the effect of my spectrum? I hurriedly opened the diary. Memory. Capacity history within the last 24 hours, -1. Wait. I opened my eyes wide. I stared hard at a certain part of the. For reference, that -1 is the result of acquisition. If you work hard and practice, the capacity steadily decreases. The problem is not that one. Wasn't it a percentage? The capacity has changed. Before and after regression, it was 100, so I simply thought it was 100%. But now, it had increased by 3. I stroked my chin. 3,000 Ren evaporated, but thanks to that, my capacity increased, and I learned that I could increase my capacity. No. But still, 3,000 Ren is too expensive. It still felt like a loss. Let me repeat, whether it's a notepad, a magic core, capacity, or whatever, if I die, it's all useless, right? Chapter 28, Weekend. Weekend. The smell of meat grilling on the hot plate, the laughter of families, the clatter of dishes, this is Chin. The grills are here. Even on weekend evenings, I'm working part-time in the kitchen. I plan to do this for at least another 1 to 2 months. It takes up a lot of time, but there's no risk of getting hurt or dying on the job, and not only do I get a weekly wage of 600 Ren, they also give me meat to fill my bottomless stomach. Why would I quit? The grills and dishes are here. My immediate goal is to pass the college board exams with high scores. I could make more money doing deliveries, cleaning, and organizing like before, but if I get injured and it affects my college board exams, it's all for nothing. But this is so fucking hard to clean. Splash. I angrily tossed the grill into the sink. I'm getting irritated. The grease on the scrubber won't come off, and the detergent isn't working. After cleaning about 200 of them, I've hit the limit of what my usual tricks can do. I need to bring about 10 more scrubbers. Then, suddenly, an idea pierced through my temples. What if I use on the detergent? I've never used it on consumables before, so I'm curious. I looked around. Everyone was too busy to notice me. Swipe. I put my hand on the detergent bottle. Load. I muttered the spell and activated the magic. I drew the magic to my fingertips. I summoned the memory of letting it seep into the liquid in the detergent bottle. Swoosh. A dull current arose from my palm. The colorless magic. It flowed like smoke into the detergent bottle. Did it work? I only used about 20% of my mana, but what about the effect? I soaked the scrubber in the detergent. I scrubbed the grill with it. Squeaky clean. Wow. The scrubber swept away all the grease and burnt meat residues from the grill. Like magic, in an instant. That's strange. The effect is more excellent than I imagined, but that makes it even more suspicious. No, let's think about it for a moment. What does it mean that the performance of the detergent has been amplified? Does it mean the acidity has increased? Or the alkalinity? This isn't about confusion or doubt, it's a matter of cause and effect. Enhancement of ingredients doesn't necessarily lead to amplification of performance. If that were the principle, then hydrochloric acid would be the best detergent in the world. The grills are here. In the midst of the dishwashing where water, grills, and detergent are intertwined, a clear thought arises. What is the essential function that the future artifact seeks? It's the amplification of magic and the body. It involves not only organs such as the mana circuit and the heart but also the entire human body including muscles and blood. Its mechanism is both magical and chemical. However, is the Parian invented by Libra and the Parian remembered by my really the same substance? I think I need to think more deeply about this. Dishes are here. What? You've already finished the grills. Anyway, dishes are here. Looking at the tower of dishes piling up in the sink again, I come up with a hypothesis. First of all, the operates according to my will. It's my spectrum, so it's natural. So, perhaps the Parian remembered by the also operates according to my will. In other words, it might amplify the target I choose according to the purpose I envision. The basis is this detergent right now. I thought of the detergent as a cleansing substance, and it was amplified as such. Edit. Suddenly, that word comes to mind. If, like the writes and erases, I can also freely edit and modify the effects of Parian. The grills are here. The grills came pouring in again. I pressed the Parian detergent hard and poured it into the sink. Bubbles frothed on the surface. They looked somehow different from before, and indeed they were. Finished. Everyone worked hard. Closing time, 11:20 p.m. You did well today. You're indeed the ace. Thanks to you, Shin, I think we served more tables. The boss handed me my weekly wage and a bag of meat. Take care of your family. Family. It's not a joke, this guy has been under the illusion for a while that I have a large family to support. Maybe because I take home meat by the kilogram every day. I eat it all by myself. Thank you. It's not too bad. Thanks to him, the things I receive are increasing every time I come to work. I left the meat shop and walked to Index. The curfew had already passed, so the main gate was of course closed. I climbed over the wall nonchalantly. Hui evening. As soon as I crossed into the Index grounds, my smartphone vibrated. It seems the scores for this mining assignment have come out. Honestly, I'm confident about the score. Of course, I only submitted exactly 23 magic stones from the mine. If you only consider quantity, I'm obviously last. But it's not all about quantity. Chedrick clearly stated that the grading criteria were quantity and quality. I focused on quality. Let's see. Identifying magic stones is quite a difficult task to begin with. You can't distinguish the grade by size or appearance, so even if it looks like an ordinary pebble to the naked eye, it could be an A-grade magic stone. It's not for nothing that there's a profession called magic stone appraiser. However, I had so I made full use of it and collected only the best ones to submit. The result: 1 prism disassembly, 1 paper bird observation. 1 mine. Total, 8.8/11.5 CP. Mine score 4.3 CP. Total so far 8.8 CP. Satisfied with the decent score, I was walking when. My legs froze in place. My eyes were glued. I was staring blankly at some part of the index park. In the faint landscape, there was a man running on the track. A man who looked like a statue, sweating and exercising. A man with such perfect looks and talent that it made me curse the world without realizing it. Gherkin Khaldun. There were many others watching him. Especially from the girls' dormitory side. They were stuck to the windows like barnacles. Wait a minute. Isn't that a telescope? He's the same as ever. I had met Gherkin before my regression. Whether before or now, he was the alpha dog, and I was a hyena at the bottom. He was the best swordsman on the continent, and I was a ghost with cancer. He had ambitions that no one else could hold, and in the end, he became the first commoner congressman in Edsala. He received the support of all the commoners, but I hated him. It wasn't just a simple feeling of inferiority. Perhaps, because our master was the same? Because it seemed like our master favored him over me? Or because he ended up betraying our master? I'm not sure. I can't understand him, and he can't understand me. From the beginning, he had very little interest in me. People who live to develop themselves and people who live to bring someone down are just too different. Keep up the good work, I said to his running back. But suddenly, he stopped. Then he turned around with his sweaty face. He looked directly at me. I didn't avoid his blue pupils. Instead, I asked back. Huh? What? Then he withdrew his gaze and started running in the park again. He has really sharp ears. Gherkin Khaldun. I hate this guy too. Monday came around again, at the Clement Hall. As usual, Elise, who came to school 30 minutes early, paused as she was about to sit down. It was because of Soliette in the corner of the back row. A seat that was as good as her designated seat, shaded by a tree outside the window. Tisk. Elise, who clicked her tongue, took a step towards her. Hello. Ah. Good afternoon. Soliette nodded nonchalantly. There was no awkwardness or hesitation that she had expected. Elise sat on her desk and asked quietly. Why did you ask about the expelled student yesterday? The reason, in fact, she already knew. It's because he mentioned nightmare. Is the expulsion confirmed? Soliette asked. Elise crossed her legs. You saw it? He couldn't even submit the paper bird, and he only gathered a handful in the mine. 2 failures at the college board means compulsory expulsion. If it's expulsion, then it's done. Soliette nodded sullenly. Elise didn't say anything more. Perhaps, this expulsion might be a blessing in disguise for Shiniskal. If he doesn't disappear from sight, he might be killed by Soliette. Take care. Yes. Elise returned to her seat. As it neared 9 o'clock, the seniors started to trickle in. Ellie, you're early as usual, ugh. She pushed away Layla, who was trying to cling to her shoulder. I'm sleepy. Hey Asher. What did you do with him yesterday? I didn't see you in the middle. He. I'll leave it to your imagination. Ah, my back hurts. As Kane and Asher sat down chattering nonsensically, it struck 9 o'clock. Drrrr. The front door opened, and Chedrick appeared. Standing at the podium, he looked at his wristwatch and waited. He was counting the seconds. Elise also looked at her watch out of curiosity. 9 hours and 57 seconds 58. 59. TRRRR. Exactly 1 second before, the back door hurriedly opened. Elise didn't look back. A senior who barely makes it to school on time. He's just pathetic and lacking. Huh? What's with him? But the other seniors were different. They looked back out of curiosity and each wore a shocked expression. Like they had seen a ghost. How did that bastard? Even Kane spat out a cliched line. What's this? No, As if to replace the stuttering Kane, Chedrick spoke. Shiniskal. That was close. Elise thought she had heard wrong. Therefore, she looked back a bit late. At that moment, her pupils widened. I didn't miss it, did I? The person who everyone was sure would be expelled. The man who was fiddling with his slightly damp hair and sitting in the very back seat. Shiniskal. Elise blankly followed him. All the gazes in Clement Hall were similar. Facing those numerous eyes, Shiniskal twisted the corners of his mouth in a mocking smile. All 90 members are present. Since everyone is here, we will begin the first college board course of the second week. Follow me. Chapter 29, Proof of Skills. Proof of the skills. This place is the Barramil Stadium. After exiting the main gate of Index, we arrived at the stadium located in the capital after about a 15-minute walk. Pointing at the round dome reflecting the sunlight, Chedrick continued his speech. This stadium is divided into a no monozone and a regular monozone. Indeed, there are 2 entrances to the stadium. And the no monozone is literally an area where mana barely exists, and the monozone is an area where the mana density is higher than average. Today, we will conduct a mini combine here. Combine. It's a method usually used by Knight Orders to collectively evaluate Knight Academy students. It's a kind of evaluation stage that tests physical abilities, mana, swordsmanship, etc., by gathering the students of the Magic College. In the Combine, we evaluate mana agility and non-mana agility separately, that is, magic and physical abilities, and then proceed with the draft based on those scores. Draft is literally player selection. From the 1st to the 10th place according to the grades of the first assignment of the College Board, Prism Disassembly, a total of 10 people become team leaders and draft team members. Each team leader picks 5 people each, making a total of 60 people forming 10 teams. 60 people form 10 teams. The total number is 90. 30 people are left. Conduct the combine from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. The candidate team members should strive to show their value, and the team leaders should strive to form the best team. However, not being picked doesn't mean you immediately fail. At that, sighs of relief flowed from various places. If you're not picked for a team, you can form your own team. A team without a team leader can have any number of team members. I looked around. Would the best option be for the 30 dropouts to form one team and compete? We will conduct a group assignment with the team formed that way. We will announce what the assignment is later. No, that can't be. The hardest thing to handle on the continent is people. I'd rather raise 30 cheetahs or leopards. I will call the team leaders. First place Gherkin Kal Dune, second place Soliet, third place Elise. Point 4 th place Layla, fifth place Kane, sixth place Asher, seventh place Dilrek, eighth place Ben-Hur, 9th place London, 10th place Calverton. The 10 of you will autonomously oversee and conduct the mini combine. Leaving those words, Chedrick left somewhere. The 90 people left at the entrance glanced around for a moment and then slowly moved. Naturally, they flocked towards the 10 team leaders. Everyone, stay still. The team leaders will have a meeting first. Kane pushed them away and gathered only the team leaders. It must have been Elise's order. Okay. So. They gathered in a circle and whispered something, but only Kane's loud voice could be faintly heard. Right. As Elise said. Yeah. Elise is right. Yeah. So, as Elise said. Are you some dog raised by Elise? Okay. Anyway, Kane stepped forward as soon as it was over. First, each team leader will pick 8 people for evaluation. Gherkin Khaldun will pick first, so line up. Just like a draft. Hurry up. The seniors who were not team leaders formed 10 lines of 8 people each. I was at the very back. Hey, Gherkin Khaldun. You pick first. At Kane's words, Gherkin Khaldun looked around at the seniors and pointed at them one by one. You. He picked 10 people like that, and then it was Soliet's turn. I didn't expect much. I just glanced at her face. Then, our eyes met. Soliet's clear red eyes. Her small lips moving as if mumbling. The dry, jade-colored voice flowing between them. Shiniskal. Step forward. Perhaps, she had been watching me all along. Soliet picked me first. I had a rough idea why. Probably because I had mentioned Nightmare in the Mine. Let's go in. We, Soliet's team, entered the Mana Zone first. Various evaluation items were already prepared in the Mana Zone. First, Mana Control. Second, Mana Cooperation. Third, Mana Agility. Fourth, Mana Adaptability, and so on. Let's start with this. Soliet led us to the Mana Control section. It's a spinning top. The Mana Control evaluation is simple. You control a specially made top with mana. The method is to inject mana appropriately into the top and bottom of the top and make it spin. Knowing this feeling, maintaining the subtle mana dynamics and balance, and rolling the top. The evaluation factors are rotation speed, duration, and destructive power. Shiniskal. Soliet called my name first. There was a strange color in her eyes. A tangled mixture of hostility, curiosity, and expectation. Yeah. I responded and held the top in my hand. The top was connected to a string. Normally, you would do it without a string, but it seems there's this consideration because we're still high school students. In that case, go ahead. Soliet stared at me. It was a look of let's see what you can do. To meet her expectations, I blew mana into the top string. The top shot up. And then it fell back down. Thud. 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 Jingle. After bouncing a few times on the ground, it was cut in half. Soliet looked at the top. Her eyes were a bit blank. I probably had a similar expression. Snicker. The laughter of a few students mixed in like background noise. I wiped the cold sweat off my forehead and shrugged my shoulders. This isn't my specialty. Huh. Soliet nodded with a look of disbelief. Next. Let's move on to coordination. Then she hastily pointed to the next one. The remaining 7 students grabbed her in confusion. Miss Soliette. What about us, us? What are you talking about? We have to do it too. No, this is an evaluation. Right. Yes. Everyone, please try. Soliette started the evaluation again. A rather handsome guy asked with a smile. Who's going first? Anyone. Please hurry up. It was a somewhat irritable answer. The man seemed taken aback, but soon stepped forward. Then I'll go first. Your name? Keely Berkunta. I'll do it right away. Keely stepped forward. Huiyeing. His top spun well. Very beautifully, and balanced. Soliette crossed her arms and nodded her head. Yes. I saw. Next. Me. I'll do it. I'm Rahul. Please come out. It wasn't just Keely. In the Mana control test, all 10, excluding me, did better than me. Next, Mana cooperation. It's simple. You just need to emit mana on this glass wall and draw a shape. Shiniskal first. Please draw a circle. Soliette's first pick was still me, and I radiated mana on the glass wall. I slowly drew the shape. Then Soliette's mouth opened in surprise. Her eyes became cloudy like a flounder. I hurriedly explained. If you're wondering what shape this is, it's kind of inspired by an ultrasound. I clearly told you to draw a circle. Are you an idiot? Even the easiest circle doesn't work. It just sparks and sparks on the glass wall like an electromagnetic wave. Soliette touched her temple and said. Next person. Third, mana agility. It's simple. You'll be shot with a mana beam bullet, and you need to defend with mana. Soliette. Arn first. Soliette called me again this time. However, her voice was already filled with anger, contempt, and disdain. I stood at the indicated spot. There was a gun barrel 10 m ahead. Bang. The mana beam bullet was fired. I tried to quickly release mana, but... Ugh. The beam left a mark on my forehead first. At that time, Soliette's sharply narrowed eyes were saying. Crazy useless son of a bitch. Fourth, mana adaptability. That's enough. My mana zone evaluation is over. Please leave. Soliette, who seemed fed up, ended the evaluation right away. She checked something in her notebook and went outside alone, and the others each said a word. Dude, what are you doing? You're fucking terrible at this. Did you get picked by Soliette? Did she deliberately give you a hard time? Right? That's right. That's so funny. They laughed and scoffed, and after that, my name was never called again. Shit. I was lying blankly, looking up at the ceiling of the Graham Hall. The damn mana talent is still the fucking same. The talent for magic. The most important talent for students of magic high school who aspire to attend a magic university and hope to work in the magic industry. I don't have that. I mean, I do, but it's not at the index level. It's just at the lower night level, like my father. I slowly raised my head. By the way, this is in this place, where the mana in the air is less than 0.001%, only pure physical abilities are evaluated. In other words, It measures the physical ability in a state where not even a little bit of magic is flowing through the body. Because it's difficult to train or hone these pure physical abilities, men tend to have an advantage over women. However, the average difference is only 10–30% compared to ordinary people. You can't use magic body, but the strong body that has been consistently receiving and soaking in mana is still there. The no mana zone is essentially a place to evaluate that strong body. They probably won't ask me. But here I am, sitting in a corner of the mat, lost in thought. Honestly, I'm waiting for them to call me. I'm quite confident in using my body. There are various evaluation items. To measure speed and agility. To gauge upper body strength. To evaluate lower body explosive power. To test the flexibility and power of the body itself. I've been working hard on these exercises, both now and in the past, but they still haven't called me. They're just doing it among themselves. Ha ha ha. Hey. What are you? You're so slow. That Kane bastard seems to be intentionally making a fuss. Try again. I'll give you another chance. Ready, set. While the other guys are all moving their bodies, watching the evaluation, or stretching, I'm alone. It's been a long time since Soliet, the only one who called me, has ignored me. I won't do it. I just lay down on the mat. It's impossible for me to be chosen for the top team in the mana zone anyway. Let's be mature and let it go, be mature. Yawn. When I lie down, sleep comes to me. Because of this damn cancer. Hypersomnia is one of the symptoms of cancer of the magic score. It's sucking the energy out of my body to use for forced growth, so it's impossible not to feel sleepy. Chapter 30, Proof of Skills. Proof of Skills. That's it? I'm done with the evaluation. Kane folded his record sheet in half. Elise also nodded her head, checking her wristwatch. It's 12:45, so it should be over soon. Let's share. Roger. Kane and Elise exchanged their record sheets. Elise just skimmed through it, but Kane's eyes widened. Wow. It was too meticulous. Not only the one-line reviews, but also the graphs and diagrams were perfectly organized. Elise. Can I swap this with mine? It looks like it's written by an expert. Anyway, each team leader can only see 16 people. It's more important to see as many as possible without overlapping, rather than the quality of the data. Most team leaders went through 2 cycles of 8 people each. Meaning they had a grasp of a total of 16 people. Except for Soliet. Soliet only measured once, and that too only in the mana zone. Ellie. Is Shin sleeping? That's when Layla pointed somewhere and chuckled. Shiniskal, sprawled out on the mat, fast asleep. Elise just glanced and didn't answer, and Kane sneered with contempt. That idiot thinks he's winning. How did he not get kicked out? I feel sorry for him. Oh, should I have called him? But he's really bad. Layla mumbled. Elise asked indifferently. Did something happen? Huh? Oh, so Liet picked Shin for the combine, right? I saw how Shin was doing. He was really bad. Really? Elise smiled inwardly. So that's why Soliet picked that guy first, to give him a proper scolding. Oh, right. Hey, guys. Then Asher grinned and chimed in as if he had remembered something. Do you want to try that, among us team leaders? It looked pretty fun when the kids were doing it. He pointed to one side of the gym. It was a 10-meter rail. At the end of it was a wall of the same height, and below was an air mat for landing. It's called, the flower of the no mana zone. The method is simple. Run at full speed and touch the highest part you can reach. Then the scoreboard at the top will tell you the record. It's one of the most dynamic items in the physical evaluation and is popular, but it only measures height, so those with a tall stature or long arms have an advantage. But well, physical attributes are also considered talent in this field. Sounds fun. It was Kane's words. With a barefoot height of 192 centimeters and a wingspan reaching 2 meters, he was bound to be confident. Kane showed his record sheet and said, "How about this? The one who jumps the highest gets to share the record sheet. Then I'll join too." At that moment, someone raised their hand. Everyone turned to look in that direction. Soliette. It was Soliette. She stood at the starting line of the rail. "I'll go right away." As soon as she said that, she ran straight away. 1 step, 2 steps, 3 steps, 4 steps, 5 steps. She ran just enough to gain maximum momentum and pushed off at the end of the rail. Whoosh! A graceful takeoff, like an eagle soaring off a cliff. In the midst of all the seniors staring blankly, she slapped the palm of her hand at the highest point. Bang! With a sound like thunder, the numbers on the scoreboard changed. "Holy shit!" Asher gasped. The other team members also let out exclamations close to shock. "Is Soliette for real? Is that, like, a female powerhouse?" At those admiring words, Elise merely licked her lips. 578 centimeters meant she had jumped at least 4 with a running start. And it didn't even look like she had given it her all. A truly unbelievable powerhouse, a monster gene indeed worthy of the Arn bloodline. "Is there anyone else?" Soliette asked calmly as she walked off the air mat. Asher and Kane suddenly averted their eyes. It would be embarrassing if they jumped lower than Soliette. Gherkin Khaldun might be able to give it a shot, but he was currently in the mana zone evaluating team members. Thankfully, the lunch bell rang just in time. It's lunchtime. Let's do this later. But I'll show you my record. Kane handed Soliette his record sheet. Yes. Soliette walked away looking at it, and Elise quietly watched her retreating figure. Soliette is amazing. "Ellie, what do you want to eat?" Layla asked with a sparkle in her eyes. "Whatever you want." Elise answered vaguely, her gaze drifting somewhere. "Then let's go for sushi." Rumble. Despite the recent commotion, there was still a lunatic snoring and sleeping on the mat. When I opened my eyes, there was no one around. I rubbed my eyes and looked at the clock in the empty no mana zone. 1:20 p.m. Lunchtime. Gurgle. I was starving to death. Even though I eat 6 meals a day. I'm so hungry I could die. I quickly got up. I was about to leave when I noticed the large numbers on the scoreboard. It was a high jump. That's pretty high. In the no mana zone, 5 70 centimeters means at least double in the mana zone. Should I give it a try? High jump. I've always wanted to try it. I mean, I haven't even attempted it. I walked to the starting line of the rail. Gurgle. I tried to ignore the rumbling of my stomach. Phew. One deep breath. Nothing too flashy. Simply relaxing the body and adjusting the muscles for running. After getting into position. Up. I took a big step. 1 step. 2 steps. 3 steps. And then, I reached the end of the rail. I had covered 10 m in just 3 steps. Oh. It was faster than I expected. I pushed off in surprise. Vroom. I felt my body lift. My senses were off. The ground beneath my feet was too soft, and the resistance of the rushing air was too light. For some reason, it felt like I was rising endlessly. I glanced down at my feet. It was dizzying. The air mat on the ground was as small as a handkerchief, and the scoreboard seemed close enough to touch. With just my 2 legs, I had leaped this far. Ah! For a moment, I forgot my objective. I was supposed to touch the wall. In the middle of my descent from the peak, I slapped my palm against it. Thud. My handprint was engraved on the wall, and my body descended for quite a while. About 3 seconds by my estimation. Whoosh. My back hit the soft air mat first. In that position, I looked up at the scoreboard on the wall. My palm had reached the highest point. The scoreboard stated that the record was 6 m 87 centimeters. I was more puzzled than amazed. To be honest, I was confused. Why? 6 m 87 centimeters is almost similar to the new draft record. That's why it's even stranger. My athletic ability shouldn't be this high. What the? Even if I acquired a natural physique thanks to the cancer of the magic score, that's still a future story. At this point, where my tertiary growth has just begun. Could it be? My eyes widened. A thought grazed my mind like a needle. Embodiment. I placed my hand on my stomach. Dash. My pulse, faint but definitely there. My core is still throbbing like a heart, scattering magic throughout my body. But this mere throbbing can hardly explain such a superphysical phenomenon. After all, the no magic zone evaluates physical strength, not a magic body. Ah. Then, one of the operating principles of the that came to mind. Attunement. The process of mastering things that the memorizes, by repeating them with my body. A technique attuned once probably won't be forgotten forever and is not constrained by capacity. What if that's not limited to techniques? It's still a guess, but what if? What if? If the Parian in me is naturally integrating with my body? If that Parian is seeping into my blood vessels, muscles, bones, and other organs through the throbbing of my core, slowly sublimating the property of upgrade into my framework? It's not impossible. It's a plausible story. The is a product of the core, and therefore, broadly speaking, the Parian is also memorized in the core. I silently spread my palm. Then clenched it. Spread it again. Then clenched it again. Suddenly, a remark from my master echoed in my ears. I know. You know and I know. That embodiment is likely to be useless. But still. It's better than not doing it. Useless. A small smile crept onto my lips. It might not be. 1:40 p.m. So Liet Arn returned to the no magic zone before lunchtime ended. She returned to retrieve something she had left behind. Ah. Fortunately, it was still in its place. A duffel bag in the corner of the hall. So Liet slung it over her shoulder. She paused as she was about to turn around and leave. She didn't trust herself. So, she scanned the area she had just passed, and sure enough, There was a cell phone where the duffel bag had just been. She had left her phone behind while picking up the duffel bag. I should have known. She cursed herself. Soliette shook her head as she picked up her phone. That's when it happened. Suddenly, the scoreboard in her peripheral vision caught her eye. Something was off. No, it seemed off. She stood still in her tracks. She slowly turned her head to look at the scoreboard. Soliette was rarely surprised. Her eyes widened like a cat's. The record had changed. The problem was the number on the scoreboard. 687 cm. In the no magic zone, those who are good at high jump usually hit between 5m and 5m 30 centimeters. Even that is an incredible level compared to the average person. But now, a figure close to 7m was recorded. It wasn't fake. The palm print stamped at a position where she had to raise her head for a long time proved it. 7m meant that someone had jumped over a 2 to 3 story building with just their physical strength. Gherkin Khaldun. Naturally, that name came to Soliette's mind. She couldn't think of anyone but Gherkin Khaldun. At least not in the current index. Soliette meticulously examined the high jump track and air mat. To her, who had been chasing nightmare for nearly a year, deduction had become somewhat of a hobby or a special skill. While she was investigating thoroughly, indeed, something shiny on the air mat caught her eye. Soliette quickly crawled over and picked it up with 2 fingers. An object that wasn't there when she was doing the high jump. A very small and round button. Judging by its size, it seemed to have fallen off the sleeve of an index uniform. Chapter 31, Proof of Skills. Proof of Skills. 2 p.m. After lunch, 90 seniors gathered in the main hall of Barramil Stadium, where the stage was divided like a concert hall. We will now start the mini-draft. Chedrick, the person in charge, said as he looked around at them. Team leaders, please come up to the stage. 10 team leaders, including Gherkin Khaldun, Soliette, and Elise, ascended the stage and took their seats. Starting with overall first place, Gherkin Khaldun. The first pick of the first round went to Gherkin Khaldun. At first glance, it might seem fair for the 10th place to have the first pick, and indeed it is, but the College Board prioritizes skill over fairness. I choose Barak. Without hesitation, Gherkin Khaldun chose Barak. Barak walked out to applause. He was a man with long hair. His prism score was 13th. In 10 years, he'd be among the elite, holding a key position in one of Etzela's big monotech companies. Anyway, if I know his name, he's a competent guy. Barak. Come up to the stage and sit in the chair behind Gherkin Khaldun. Yes. Barak took his place on Gherkin Khaldun's team. He looked quite proud. Next, Soliette. The second pick of the first round was Soliette's. I suddenly felt nervous. My hands were shaking so much that I quickly put them in my pockets. Whew. I took a deep breath. Whether then or now, she's a woman who disturbs my peace. Just then, she glanced at me. I didn't avoid her gaze. I told her with my eyes that I was confident. I choose. Soliette opened her mouth. I had an inexplicable intuition. It felt like she was going to pick me. It might just be a simple expectation. But... Keely. You. Suddenly, I coughed. The mini-draft was over. First round, second round, third round, fourth round. The draft went around 4 times in total. 10 people were picked in each round. My name wasn't even called as a joke. Let's do well. Really? I'll work my ass off. The guys who were picked were full of pride on the stage, and those who weren't picked, like me, just scratched the back of their necks and gave awkward smiles. My condition wasn't good today. I was born in the no magic zone. Honestly, isn't the no magic zone useless? I didn't know. They say it's important. I didn't feel particularly frustrated or anything. There were 40 people who weren't picked. Of course, I was a loser among those 40. Those seniors who weren't picked will also be given 15 minutes to form teams. No one looks at me. They avoid my eyes. They even subtly back away when I try to approach. It's probably because of some network. Elise. In fact, the moment she marked me, my school life was pretty much over. Not just in Index, but in a year or two, the social circles of Edsala's capital will fall into her hands, so my social reputation is already fucked. So, we're a team of 6? Sounds good, right? Our balance is just right. What's your GPA? Hey. We're just average among the 40. Let's just do it with the 4 of us. Shouldn't we push with our side numbers? That's overkill. Let's just pick about 20. The outcasts were chattering among themselves, but I was alone. It didn't seem like anything would come from forcing myself into their conversations. 15 minutes have passed. Submit your teams. Time was up, and Chedrick spoke. The outcasts all tried to ascend to the stage. Choose a team leader and only they should come up. Chedrick stopped them. The ones on the stage snickered, and the outcasts below resumed their discussion. Hey, then you be the team leader. No, why? Just do it. There might be bonus points. Having no choice, I stepped forward first. I ascended the stage and looked at Chedrick. Behind Chedrick, the eyes of the regular team selected through the draft focused on me. Chedrick asked, Shiniskal. Your team. I submit. Are you alone? Yes. Someone snickered at that moment. It was Layla. She twisted her hair and avoided my gaze. Chedrick wrote my name on the file. Team number 11, Shiniskal confirmed. Go down. A total of 18 teams were confirmed. 10 regular teams, 8 outcast teams. Most of the outcast teams consisted of 4 to 6 members, and of course, I was alone. Is this the loneliness of a one-man army? I will announce the group assignment. Clap. Chedrick clapped his hands. 90 pairs of eyes focused on him. The sound of swallowing was loud. Chedrick spoke without hesitation. It's an exploration. Exploration. At the same time, groans erupted here and there. Quite an annoying assignment. Somewhere in Edsala, there are several regions with different characteristics artificially created by the University Association. You have to explore there and write an exploration report. Correction. It's not just quite annoying, but incredibly annoying. Exploration are annoying enough, but what's with the report? There are a total of 10 exploration sites. Chedrick projected 10 landscape photos into the air. They were labeled in alphabetical order. A was a foggy mountain, B was a deserted island, C was a jungle, D was a desert, E was a swamp, and so on. Also, snap. Chedrick flicked his finger. Then, thick envelopes floated up and were delivered to the team leaders, 10 per team. 10 envelopes also landed on my arms. The letters A, B, C, etc., were written on the surface. Inside envelope A, there are 2 magic formulas related to exploration area A. One is a magic formula that will tell you the coordinates of the exploration area. And the other is a magic formula containing the key to enter there. The same goes for envelopes B, C, and so on. You have to choose an exploration area, decipher the magic formula, and find the exploration site yourself. It seems like finding the assignment area is also part of the assignment is a cliché. Meet up by 9 a.m. on Friday. If you can't find it, you fail. I suppressed a sigh that was rising to my chin. My magic skills are still at middle school level, how am I supposed to solve this? Soliet. What should we do? Suddenly, a name pierces my eardrums. A voice calling Soliet as if they were close friends. My eyes turned in that direction. It was Keeley. First round, second pick. In other words, Soliet's first choice. It's not like that was supposed to be my spot. But it bothers me for some reason. Jealousy. Perhaps. I admired her, and loved her. Of course, the Soliet of the future and the Soliet of now are completely different people. They shouldn't be the same. I'll take care of it. Hey. You still need to gather with your team members. Soliet is talented in almost every field. Swordsmanship, magic, magic formulas, even finance including stocks and real estate. Yes. After we gather, I'll take care of it. Because of this, she has a habit of trying to do everything on her own. Today ends with team selection. Since the assignment starts on Friday, there will be no assignments on Wednesday. It's a relief to hear that. The unexpected break brought a strange smile to the other seniors. Chedrick said as he put files into his document bag. Let's start the group assignment. Whoosh. At that moment, all the teams rushed out of the stadium. A few glanced at me, alone, with a mix of pity and amusement, but only for a moment. In just 1 minute, all 89 of them disappeared. Only Chedrick and I remained in the stadium. I looked at Chedrick without a word. Chedrick seemed slightly conscious of me, but soon packed his bag and left. I let out a pointless yell. Ah! Ah! The echo reverberated in the stadium. In such a vast place, there's only me. Just me. A group assignment without group members. It starts today. Back at my temporary residence, I'm studying. It's the last chapter of. Fortunately, the discipline of magic can be learned. At least I won't forget a formula I've seen once, thanks to the. Don't get me wrong. It doesn't mean I'll never forget something I've seen once. It means I can load it by consuming magic power. Just like how I can bring in a memory like Parian with the I can also recall a pure memory. Can't remember a formula you've definitely studied? Just bring in that memory with the. My keeps a memory of all the experiences I've had. This is doable. As a result, I successfully finished reading. I guess I'm at least at middle school level now. I took out the magic formulas from the envelope I received today. 1 pair of magic formulas per exploration site, a total of 20 magic formulas. I have to choose one of these 10 places. I don't understand any of it. All the magic formulas are still foreign languages to me. No, they're not even a language, they're just patterns. Damn complicated patterns. He gave up after staring intently. After all, he was only at the level of a middle school student. He could barely interpret magic formulas, let alone magic spells. This was even a group project's magic spell, a problem of almost college level that could only be solved by putting several heads together. Ugh. Having tossed aside the magic spell, he picked up a landscape photo of the exploration area. Of course, he couldn't tell anything from such a landscape. If he could, that would be a problem error. Wait. This. But, this exploration area. A mountain covered in fog. Looking at the fog and the mountain here, he felt a growing sense of incongruity. Something seemed to be on the tip of his tongue, and his chest felt heavy. Was it a memory from before his regression? But at this time, he had been lying in a hospital bed. There was no way he could have any meaningful memory. Therefore, he didn't know what caused this sense of incongruity. Instead, the might know. He closed his eyes quietly. Slowly, he summoned a memory of the. As if searching for a file in a folder, he limited the period to March 2013, just before his regression. There would probably be no or faint memories of having seen something directly around that time. He had been lying blankly, looking out the window for 3 months after being diagnosed with cancer of the magic score. He had been a corpse since then. However, apparently, the sense of memory that has is not only sight. We have a reporter on the scene. Reporter Elaine, please tell us the situation. The anchor's voice playing in his ears. The memory of sound. Hearing. Yes. This is the artificial fog mountain in the Parascale region, where the College Board project was carried out. Yesterday at 9 p.m., there was a commotion when a level 5 magic phenomenon, dispel, occurred during the College Board process. He had heard news related to this College Board. The beasts in the caves and underground couldn't accept the sudden change in the atmosphere and jumped out, threatening not only the seniors who were in the middle of the project, but also the residents of the city. At that moment, his eyes popped open. Mandrake. Forget about the monster or the fact that there were no casualties, Mandrake. A crazy plant that screams like a madman when pulled out, resembling a human. Insane. Contrary to popular belief, Mandrake is not an elixir. It's more akin to poison, or even a drug. It's expensive. And it makes money. You're mine, damn it. Mandrake. Depending on the quality, the price is around 20,000 ren per 100 g on average, but the Mandrake of the Fog Mountain is a whopping 500 g. Even after deducting commission, labor costs, and taxes, it's over 40,000 to 50,000 ren. You're mine, damn it. I absolutely have to get it. Chapter 32, To-Do List. To-Do List. At the same time, Monday evening. In the Eslo commercial district, close to several magic high schools including Index, there is a place called. It's a high-end study cafe that occupies the 5th to 7th floors of a commercial building. At this place frequently used by magic high school students, the upper class of Index gathered today. Everyone, come out. Let's take a break and discuss. Elise sent a group message from the 7th floor corridor. Immediately, the door of room 4 opened, and Kane came out. Oh, Elise. How's your team doing? Elise shrugged her shoulders. We've just started the segmentation. Since quite a lot of magic formulas are intertwined in this magic ceremony, they first need to break down the formula into individual components for proper analysis. This process is called segmentation, and since it's a simple and tedious task, basically grunt work that doesn't require creative thinking or a shift in perspective, Elise left it all to her team members. Is that so? I picked a kid with a good head, and he's doing it all right now. You mean Elling? Oh, how did you know? We went to the magic competition together. He's not very sociable, but he's quite talented. Which room is Layla in? She was hanging out in room 3. On the 7th floor of K slot, there are a total of 10 group study rooms, each 30 square meters. Elise is in room 1, Kane in room 4, and Asher, who is just coming out, is in room 7. Hey, did you guys see this? My minion sent it to me. Asher approached with an excited face and showed his smartphone. That asshole's making a fuss again. Kane, who started with a curse, had his eyes wide open in an instant. His jaw trembled and closed tightly. It was a rather loud reaction. What is it? Elise also took a quick look. It was a single photo. A high jump, huh? Yeah, it's crazy. Some madman hit almost 7 meters in the no-mana zone. The high jump rail in the no-mana zone. The number that appeared on the billboard. A clearly engraved palm. Elise muttered nonchalantly. It must be Gherkin Kal Dune. Shit. Kane bit his lip. In fact, Elise was also impressed inside. At this level, it's as much as an average knight, no. Since physical strength is purely a matter of talent, it's superior to most knights. Asher blurted out. If it's 687, it's almost a new record for the draft combine. You know, right? In 94, Soliet's dad hit 701 cm-. Squeak. At that moment, the door of room 6 opened. The person who walked out with a wobble, as if speaking of the devil. It was Soliet. Some guy was following her like a shadow. Soliet. Elise called her. Soliet raised a question mark in essence. Did you see this? She snatched Asher's phone and showed her the screen. After a quick glance, she answered nonchalantly. Yes. You saw it? Yes. Do you know who it is? I think I might know. Excuse me, I need to use the restroom. Soliet raised an eyebrow. This is still at the stage of speculation, but it's evidence to find the owner of the 687 centimeters. This button. Yes. I found it on the air mat. It's probably the only evidence. Unfortunately, there's no CCTV in the stadium. It sounds like a crime when you say it like that. To the point of checking CCTV. Elise glanced at the button as if uninterested. It was a normal school uniform button. Well, then. I'll go ahead. Okay. Go ahead. Soliet put the button back in her pocket and left the bathroom. Elise turned on the faucet. Swoosh. After washing her hands with soap, she went outside. Just then, the door of the men's bathroom opened, and a presence emerged. It was Keeley. With a smile at the corner of his mouth, he nodded at Elise and walked towards Soliet. He's an unpleasant person. Elise felt an inexplicable contempt. Study room number 6. Soliet returned with Keeley. The members of room 6 were dissecting the magic formula. Oh, you're back. We've mostly dissected it. It looks like a map-related magic formula to us, what do you think? At the team member's words, Soliet nodded. You did well. It probably wasn't a map-related magic formula, but they had almost completely dissected it, which was commendable. Keely raised an eyebrow. Oh, you guys are fast, huh? But why is it so hot? Hot. Should we turn off the heating? No, it's okay. I'll just take off my clothes. He coughed and took off his school uniform coat. Soliet glanced at him nonchalantly, then froze for a moment. She silently stared at Keely's cuff. The button. There was no button. When did it disappear? She didn't know if this was the first time he had taken off his school uniform coat. She hadn't been interested in the first place. What's wrong, team leader? Keely asked, feeling her gaze. Soliet pointed blatantly at the spot. The button. It's missing. Huh? What button? Oh, what's this? Keely fiddled with his cuff and chuckled. When did it fall off? It did feel a bit empty. Watching him casually adjust his cuff, Soliet was lost in thought for a moment. Keely licked his nostrils and lips and pointed at a landscape photo of some exploration area. Team leader? So, are we definitely going here? Soliet looked at it. Exploration area. A mountain covered in fog. Yes. Soliet said expressionlessly. Our team too will go here. Index, Saran, Devon, Sugma, and other prestigious magic high schools' shopping districts overlap like a Venn diagram. Low Street. I came out and was looking at the directory of a commercial building. Why does a study cafe take up 3 whole floors? The study cafes I know aren't like this. Moreover, it's 30 Ren per hour. But they claim to maintain an optimal concentration of oxygen and mana for studying and learning. Well, I'm not here to study anyway. My destination today is Mayho Bookstore. It's the largest bookstore in the area, occupying the entire 3rd floor. It's not that I don't need it, I need the textbook for tomorrow's Latinal class. Neither the library nor the local bookstore carries such a high-level artifact like Latinal. I went up to the 3rd floor. From the entrance, there were many people in school uniforms, martial arts uniforms, and robes, and books were everywhere. I roughly looked around the language section, but I didn't really need to search. The most luxurious and antique-designed counter. Above it, a gold-framed picture labeled. Here it is. The Latinal textbook was displayed like a luxury item in the middle of the shiniest counter. The price was 1,500 Ren. Last time it was 1,200 Ren, it's gone up by 300 Ren. Of course, I have no intention of buying it. How could I burn my hard-earned 1,200 Ren on a book? Instead, I put my hand on the cover of the textbook. I gently closed my eyes. I focused. Now, I'm trying to memorize it. Of course, the content of this Latinal textbook is already saved in the but what I want is more than that. I want to memorize not only the content of the textbook, but also its form. The leather cover of the hardcover book, extraordinary in material and quality. The grip that feels like it sticks to your hand. The material of the paper, sturdy yet soft without being thick. Memorize. I memoried it all. My nerves and heart twitched, and a definite sensation settled in my palm. But it's not over yet. It's just the beginning. I took out an old book from the bag I brought in advance. I put my palm on the dust-covered cover. Now, I'm going to infuse this old book with the form of I. If you compare it to the function of the it's copy and paste. However, since it's implemented in reality, it's the real embodiment of memory. Paste. There's no CG-like special effect. As I mutter my intention, my nerves tremble, and the mana holding the memory rises from my palm and seeps into the old book. The worn and frayed surface transforms into a purple hardcover, and gold letters are engraved on the cover. It's perfect. I've saved money. I've lost quite a bit of mana, and a chill runs through my body, but this is more than satisfactory. I put down the I, which used to be an old book, next to the original. Comparing them, they look even more identical. I could even sell it as a new one. If I do this well, it's like copying money. Suddenly, the book melted. Melting away, literally. Like paint peeling off, the book covers were sagging and sinking. I hastily picked it up. The moment I did, the decay stopped. Damn. After all, this embodiment seems to only persist when it's in contact with me. It's not a special restriction. After all, the concept of a medium is fundamental. No magic formula operates independently or permanently. It must either be connected to the mage or be supplied by a medium such as a mana stone or gem. Then it's useless. I called I back into the half-melted old book. The second real embodiment was quite easy, but this was a curse. I can't keep it with me all the time. It seems like it would work if I inserted a mana stone or mana core, but where can I get that now? Wait a minute. Mana core? A mana core. I do have a mana core. Not in my hand right now, but the mana core of the ghost that the swallowed. No, wait. Thinking about it, isn't what the swallowed, when you look at it broadly, memorized? Maybe. I spread my palm. I stared at it and activated the bring back the mana core you swallowed, the mana core you saved, so that the embodiment of the memory can be held in reality. As I muttered to myself, a faint stream of mana rose in my palm. It bloomed like a small lotus and condensed into a bud. It was a mana core. I did it. I opened the notepad. Capacity history within the last 24 hours, -1. As expected, the capacity had decreased. If I reabsorb the mana core, it will be restored. I don't need it this big. I reabsorbed about half of the mana core. 2 of the capacity returned, and the mana core, which was the size of a pebble, shrunk to the size of a bean. I hung it like a keyring on the bookmark of the eye. This should be enough. Moreover, the mana core is superior to the mana stone. If a mana stone is ordinary fuel, a mana core is like a generator. It can absorb mana from the air like a human and convert it into magic power. I gently put down the embodiment of the Latinal textbook. 1 second, 10 seconds, 30 seconds, 1 minute, 5 minutes. 10 minutes passed, but it didn't melt. I nodded in satisfaction. Complete. Money saved. Chapter 33, To-Do List. To-Do List. Tuesday is the least burdensome day of the week. The only class on the schedule is Latinal, an elective that doesn't require much studying. That's not to say I don't study Latinal at all. I do pre-study and review, and whenever I have time, I mimic Professor Beatrice's pronunciation. Considering the storage space Latinal takes up, I should quickly attune to it so I can free up some space in my notepad. Creak. I opened the door to the Latinal classroom. The first thing that hit me was the antiquated scent of a wealthy household. I sat down and placed my textbook on the desk. A work that embodies memory, held in place by a monocore. It will persist until I retrieve the monocore. Ellie, let's go watch a movie. It's a highly anticipated one, The Ghost of Lawrence. Then, a bubbly voice from beyond the door. We have a group project this week. What movie are you talking about? The response was dry and cold. It's only because the other person is Layla that it's this mild. When dealing with most people, even her casual speech carries a tone of scorn or reprimand. I've already finished the group project. And, you'll regret it if you don't watch this. I heard it's fun. Oh, it's Shan. Layla spotted me. She smiled languidly and reached into her bag. Hey Shan. I was just about to ask you. Oh. What the hell? She was approaching when she saw my desk and stopped abruptly, pointing at my textbook. You bought that? Do you have money? A strange question. Am I being treated as a new kind of homeless person? Well, I am a homeless person, of course. I nodded. Yeah. Where did you get the money? Why did you suddenly buy it? What? Did you pour all the money you earned from working at the barbecue restaurant into this? You're so stupid. She suddenly lashed out with a furious face. I was taken aback. Are you crazy? What? What did you just say? Are you crazy? What? She really must be crazy. I flipped her off. I'll cut off that finger dash. Get in. Quickly. Elise pushed the about to explode Layla inside. Nice to see you. It was because Professor Beatrice had just arrived. Have you been well? The professor, dressed in her usual antique attire, looked at me and smiled warmly. You remembered to bring your textbook today? Yes. I nodded politely. Good. Then, let's start the class. Today, we'll start from page 37, chapter 2. I carefully opened it, worried it might tear. Fortunately, the print and binding were just as they were last night. Without any torn or melted parts, it was like a new book. We're going to read and interpret a play script called Casino Amarla together. However, this text is a two-person play, so we'll work in pairs. Shall we decide the pairs by drawing lots now? It's up to the goddess of fate. Coincidentally, it's group work again today. Maybe they've set a theme for this week. It would be perfect if even fencing class was group work. The first one is. Professor Beatrice elegantly shook the box containing the lots and drew one. Elise Petra. Please stand up. The first name called. Elise rose from her seat. Her movements, her gestures, were as elegant as Professor Beatrice herself. Now, let's pick the protagonist who will pair with Miss Elise. She drew the next lot. I glanced around, taking in the reactions of those around me. Faces filled with desire to pair with Elise, regardless of gender. After all, even among the silver spoons gathered here, Elise and Layla were top tier. Professor Beatrice, looking at the lot, gave a slight smile. She revealed the name written on the paper. Shiniskal. I thought I had heard wrong. Excuse me? I didn't hear that correctly. I actually asked that. The professor pointed at me with a smile. Shiniskal. Yes, you. Stand up. I got up awkwardly. I glanced at Elise, who was also standing. Elise was pretending not to care about me. You two are team 1. Please switch seats and sit together. I looked at the seat next to Elise. Layla, with a fierce face, was there. I looked back at my own seat. Of course, it was empty. I spoke to Elise. Hey. You come here. For a moment, her jaw tightened. I was sitting with Elise. Our desks touching, side by side. It was uncomfortable. Elise, with her jaw clenched, was only looking at her textbook, emitting an aura of I have no intention of conversing with you. And I didn't particularly have the desire to lead a passionate conversation either. Rather, if I could, I'd like to hit her. Really give it my all, even if it's just one hit. A slap would be fine, please. All right. Did everyone understand up to here? Professor Beatrice had just finished explaining the interpretation and pronunciation of the play script. Of course, I understood. The entire textbook was memorized in my notepad. Now, let's read the script with your partner. From now on, it's a common class where we exchange lines in a play. We'll practice for the next 20 minutes and then present. Today's presentation will be reflected in your performance evaluation and attitude score, okay? As soon as Professor Beatrice finished speaking, the sound of exchanging lines echoed from all around. Of course, we weren't. Thanks to Elise, who was just mumbling to herself. I looked at her profile. I glared at her intensely. After a while, Elise glanced at me slightly, and I seized the opportunity. You start. Elise seemed to want to ignore me, but Professor Beatrice happened to look our way at the right time. With a frown, she reluctantly muttered her line. You're always like that. No. I shook my head immediately. You got it wrong there. It's not always Hardika, it's always Hamtika. Suddenly, Elise's eyes flashed sharply like a knife. It was a murderous aura unbefitting of an 18-year-old, but it wasn't scary. In the underworld, there were psychopathic murderers who killed people with human heads, not knives. Try again. Try again, I said. Ha. A deep sigh, as if trying to suppress her temper. Elise recited her line again. You always. Like that. This time, the pronunciation was correct. I snapped my fingers in satisfaction. That's right. You're doing well now. Can you be quiet? Elise bit her lip tightly. How do you read a script quietly? It's my turn. Ahem, I cleared my throat with a fake cough and recited my line. Wasn't it knowing that I'm always like this, that you agreed to meet? Elise's trembling fingers, her ears perking up, her mouth slightly open. Even Beatrice, who had been watching us until then, nodded in satisfaction. I quietly waited for Elise. What are you doing? It was time for the next line, but Elise was still silent. Next. Why aren't you reading the next line? Read it. She clenched her ballpoint pen tightly. Her shoulders shook as if her pride had been hurt. Professor. She's not reading. Even so. I thought you could change. No. I cut off Elise, who was hastily reciting her line. Elise's cheeks turned slightly red. No, they were burning with embarrassment. Even so, Greca? Your pronunciation is strange. Shut your mouth dash. You just pronounced even so Greca, right? It's not that, it's even so Greek. So Atik. Roll your tongue a bit more. Elise put her palm on her forehead as if she had anemia. Her head was so small that more than half of her face was covered. I said. Do it. She let out a faint sigh. With her lower lip bitten, she glanced at me and recited her line. Even so. That's right. You're doing well now. Keep going. The veins popped out on Elise's temples. Especially her ears, they looked like they were about to steam. Of course, I had no intention of backing down. Keep going, I said. I thought. You could change. Suppressing the anger welling up inside, Elise read her line as if she was chewing it up. I thought you could change. That was my mission. Every time she said Latinal, I opened my ears wide. Mission of meus is not correct, it's misunderstanding of mins. That was my mission. No. Not the first sound, but the last sound is different, right? It became mission abmins. That was my mission . You're rolling your tongue too much. Roll it moderately. It's not always good to roll it. It looks like you're pretending to have what you don't. I pointed out every single pronunciation that Elise got even slightly wrong. You're arrogant. She held back and spat out a word, but that was it. It wasn't that I said she was wrong when she was right, I was pointing out that she was wrong because she was wrong. I crossed my arms as if it was amusing. That's why you're the problem. Shouldn't you be saying thank you for teaching me? Who asked you to teach? Elise forced a relaxed smile, though her neck was already flushed as if ready to burst. Know your place. There are far more competent professors than a dimwit like you to tutor me. Love me. Don't go far away, love me as I am. Just as Elise was boasting about her unasked-for connections, a voice resounded like a Panchora performance. I found myself looking in that direction. Thought and hoped you would change. It was Layla. The one who abruptly stood up and started reciting lines with a serious face. Don't say you won't. Her pronunciation was a mess due to her short tongue, but her eyes, nose, and mouth were already swollen. It seemed like she might start crying any moment. Miss Layla? Maybe you should take a break. Even her partner seemed taken aback by her monstrous sensitivity. I said to Elise. You're doing better than her. Arrogant. Elise repeated the same word. All right, it's been 20 minutes. How about each team comes up and presents now? Clap. Professor Beatrice clapped her hands. Silence. The sound of Latinal ceased. Let's start with Team 1, please come up. Beatrice pointed at us with a bright smile. I looked at Elise. Without a word, Elise stood up and walked to the front, and I followed her, standing face to face. Beatrice spoke with satisfaction. It seems both of you have memorized the script. Good. Come to think of it, both of us were empty-handed. She had been mumbling to herself for a while at the beginning. Had she memorized it during that time? Go ahead. At that moment, Elise adjusted her gaze first. For the first time, she looked into my eyes. You're always like that. She recited in Latinal. Her pronunciation was smoother than during practice. It wasn't too stiff, nor too cheesy. I calmly accepted her natural first line. Didn't you agree to meet me knowing that I'm always like this? Ah. Then, Elise mixed her gaze and slightly widened her eyes. Is this what they call nonverbal rhetoric, ad-lib filled with soul or something? Even the smallest action seemed to carry a sense of sorrow. Even so, I thought you could change. I was taken aback by her seriousness, completely different from practice, as if she was truly performing in a musical. I thought you could change. It seems I was mistaken. She was so obsessed with her grades. Well done. The two-person play presentations of all 18 teams had ended. First place is obviously us. First place, as you might have expected, goes to the team of Elise and Shin. Applause. Professor Beatrice clapped her hands. The Silver Spoon seniors also joined in. It was probably because of Elise. Anyone who saw it would say she acted superbly. To briefly evaluate, Shin's pronunciation is astonishingly accurate and perfect. There's really nothing to criticize. Well, of course. I'm imitating someone's pronunciation, after all. Elise was also very good. In the last class, her pronunciation was a bit lacking compared to her word usage and vocabulary, but it has improved a lot. Not to mention her acting skills. Elise nodded her head expressionlessly. It was slightly awkward for me. In fact, I had intended to tease her under the pretext of teaching, but did I just help improve her grade for no reason? Let's end the class here. Of course, there is homework for today. Since the class was almost over, I put my textbook into my bag. Write a play script. As a team, write a two-person play. Freeze. All action stopped. It wasn't just me. The person who had just been my partner, and who seemed to be extended until next week, was the same. Well, good work everyone. See you all next week. I'm looking forward to it. Beatrice ended the class by elegantly waving her hand. The seniors began to stand up one by one from their seats. Ah! This is annoying. I muttered and ran my fingers through my hair. I don't know why you're saying what I want to say. Can you survive until next week? Elise sneered at me with a scornful look. Layla also came over at some point and joined in. That's right. Shin, don't get cocky just because you're good at Latinal. But where did you learn Latinal, Shin? Teach me too. Layla's eyes sparkled. I answered briefly. Self-taught. Wow. That's boring. Never mind. I have places to learn too. I can do way I better than you. She pulled out her smartphone. She tapped the screen rapidly with nimble fingers. Buzz. Soon, a small vibration came from my pocket. Buzz. What are you doing, Shin? You're getting a call. At Layla's words, I immediately turned around and ran out of the classroom. Chapter 34, To-Do List. To-do list. I headed straight to the library as soon as the class ended, due to Layla's request for a two-person play. It wasn't particularly difficult, and I completed it in 30 minutes, tailored to Layla's level of Latinal. I had asked for 3,000 ren. Of course, she would have happily given twice as much if I had asked. But, there's something I realized while navigating the underworld. If you poke a baby bear, the mother bear comes out, and if you eat too much, you get a stomachache. The Hilton family is dangerous. They are one of the wealthiest families on the continent, but I had never heard any rumors about the Hiltons while navigating the underworld. A family with no good or bad reputation. A family instinctively avoided and shunned by the residents of the underworld. It's best to only take as much as you give. I know a guy who's really pathetic, and you're much better than him. He's really pathetic. His name is Shiniskal, a total idiot lol. If he ever requests something from you, please reject him Roflo. Did Shiniskal request something from you first? His Latinal was suspiciously good. I should have asked for 5,000 ren. Anyway, I finished writing for Layla, and looked at the study material I had to work on. Magic to Mana Formulas. It's a second-level magic book. This textbook is labeled as Magic High School second grade level, but it's probably a first grade course by index standards. I opened the cover. Magic leads to mana formulas. Of course, the development of magic is not a mana formula. Magic is a pure academic discipline, and mana formulas are empirical. Magic merely helps to understand mana formulas more easily. To put it in a metaphor, mana formulas are machines. Simple machines. Mana spells are complex machines. On the other hand, magic is a tool that interprets those machines and teaches how to use them. Some geniuses possess the intuition to handle these machines without tools, but the rest of us need these tools. The reason why magic is a tool is because of this circuit diagram. The most meaningful utility of magic lies in discovering the circuit of mana formulas. It's about using the tool of magic to analyze mana formulas and construct circuit diagrams. If only a mana formula is left, it's nothing more than a geometric pattern. Shapes and lines are mixed chaotically. But when you analyze them with magic, you can finally see the circuit, and the blueprint that represents it is called a circuit diagram. The circuit diagram tells the order of mana to implement the mana formula. Like an electrical circuit diagram. A mage can implement a mana formula only by manipulating mana without deviating from this circuit diagram. Example 1, the mana formula fire, and the magic equation that explains the mana formula. Please complete the circuit diagram. Example. I stared blankly at it. There was a mana formula. One large circle, one large triangle inscribed in the circle, 3 small circles attached to the large triangle, and several lines connecting them. Underneath the mana formula was an equation expressed in magic. It seemed that solving this would yield the circuit diagram. What is this? I had no idea about the magic equation, so naturally, I wouldn't know the circuit diagram of the mana formula, right? I should know, right? What the? My eyes widened. I could see it. Suddenly, I could see the circuit diagram of this fire. The example mana formula in the textbook. Suddenly, a starting point flashed blue on the symbol less formula, and from there, a blue stem originated, winding around the mana formula in the correct order. I did nothing, but the circuit diagram of the mana formula naturally became known to me. Why? I blinked blankly. I didn't understand what was happening, but naturally, I suspected the diary. Memory. Sparrow. Capacity history within the last 24 hours 0. It's the same. The capacity is the same, the memory list is the same. Then what on earth? Wait a minute. Paper sparrow. Paper sparrow. The magic formula of Asilin, the person in charge, which I left without deleting just in case, or to be honest, I forgot to delete. Could it be because of this? Wait a minute. It's obvious. I memoried the magic formula of the paper sparrow. Not just the shape, but the entire movement of the magic circulating in the formula. And the magic formula is superior to the mana formula. The magic formula itself includes the mana formula, a broader and more complex concept. Let's think about it here. If someone can understand the circuit diagram of a magic formula, wouldn't they naturally be able to understand that of a much simpler mana formula? Shouldn't it be so? Whether it's a magic formula or a mana formula, they both operate on the same magical principle. Like branches spreading out. Simply put, like the proverb, know one and you know 10, the process of interpreting the mana formula was intuitively carried out by applying the paper sparrow of the. In other words, the paper sparrow of the became the base of my intuition. It's a database. But why didn't the group assignment? Ah, I see. The magic formula of the group assignment is much larger and more complex than the paper sparrow. This paper sparrow is made up of 4 mana formulas, while the group assignment has 6. No, maybe even more than that. Anyway, I understood the circuit diagram. Unexpectedly, not in the way of a prodigy, but in the way of a genius intuitively. I wonder if it will work. Nevertheless, there is a problem left. The next step after understanding is implementation. It's not that I've never succeeded in implementing a mana formula before. I didn't even know what a circuit diagram was while going back and forth between the hospital and school, and I didn't have the money to buy textbooks, let alone private lessons. I had just been scraping by, hoping to somehow finish my 3rd year, cheating with. In my own way, I was a physical type, having a father who was a knight, and indulging in self-gratification. It was a sick body, a sick mind. Phew. I raised my finger. On it, I invoked the magic formula of fire as it was in the circuit diagram. Whoosh dash. A small flame sprouted. The magic power was reasonably consumed. It works. A hollow laugh escaped me. Something I've never done in my life, yet so simple. Silently, I lit a fire on my finger. Extinguished it. Lit it. Extinguished it. I repeated this dozens of times. Perhaps. Suddenly, I became interested. If this works, wouldn't it be possible to implement a paper sparrow directly into a Cyllon's memory? I placed my hand on the paper with anticipation. Ah, no, it won't work. I gave up immediately. There's not enough magic power. It's absurdly insufficient. After all, memory and implementation are completely different stories. It's only natural that implementing is more difficult. Ugh. I stretched out. I'll do the rest tomorrow. I've done enough for today. My head hurts like hell. As I got up, I noticed a person on the other side. A man who was an art and sculpture in himself, engrossed in reading a book propped up at an angle, Gherkin Kal Dune. When did he come? I looked at the book he was reading. Explorer's Dictionary. It was an Explorer's Dictionary. Is he preparing for Friday's group project? I slowly approached him. Hey. Russell Gherkin Kal Dune looked up at me as he turned the page. Where's your team's exploration area? If it's Mist Mountain, that's a bit. See. Fortunately, it's not. It doesn't overlap. Where did you get that book? Let me read it too. Everyone else borrowed them, this is all that's left. Really? Can you read it as quickly as possible and give it to me? I almost pleaded. Gherkin Khaldun exhaled with a calm, expressionless face. Whether he likes it or not. There's no other way. I'll give you this in return. I offered him the chocolate I had saved for when I was low on sugar. It's a foreign chocolate given by the owner of a meat restaurant. He said he bought it when he went to the kingdom of Bolaya last winter. How about it? Gherkin Khaldun looked at the chocolate. For reference, this guy loves sweet food. Chocolate, hotdog, ice cream, slush, anything sweet. Thanks to his master, I know his habits and eating habits quite well. Even when eating popcorn, what was it, caramel popcorn? He alone would eat all of it. This is a foreign chocolate. Look, the packaging isn't even in Edsala's common language. I understand. Okay. When will you finish reading? As soon as possible. Thursday. I'll give it to you during the swordsmanship class. Deal. I handed over the chocolate as a token. Gherkin Khaldun accepted it without a word. I'm leaving. Rustle. As I heard the sound of the wrapper being torn, rustle rustle, I left the library. Rustle rustle rustle. He's tearing it up quite noisily. Is he already done eating and tearing up the wrapper? I returned to the old building. Even though I had only been studying, my whole body was exhausted. This is why they say using your brain is also work. However, on the path leading to the old building, there was the old man Belthos. It's natural for the old man to be there, but why is he cutting a tree on a ladder? What are you doing, old man? Can't you see? I'm managing the trees. But it's just the old building. The old building used to be a classroom building. So, the arrangement of the trees leading to the entrance is quite straight. The problem is that they've been neglected for so long that they've grown like ghosts. If they grow too wild, magical energy can inhabit the forest. He's right. Trees, like humans, breathe and absorb mana. That's why mountains are the most common places for magical phenomena. True. Don't you have more tools? I'll help you. You helping is you staying still. Hey. You don't know me. They're in the basement, right? Wait and see. I searched for on YouTube and went down to the basement of the old building. There was a video titled, Holding a Ladder and Garden Shears in One Hand. I went back outside while watching the video. I sat down with a thud after placing the tools on the ground. I fixed my eyes on the smartphone screen. When cutting branches, the starting point is important. You have to cut from the main branches of the tree, considering the direction of growth and balance. What are you doing, kid? Belthos' old man called me from below. Wait a minute. I'll do it after I finish watching this. I need to acquire some know-how. It's a 1-hour video, so it should be enough. When cutting branches, it's good to cut at a 45-degree angle. It helps the branch regenerate and creates a more natural shape. Nodding my head, pretending to understand, and admiring the work created by the gardener for an hour. I'm done watching. I turned off my smartphone and set up the ladder. I climbed up and began to snip with the shears. As I've said repeatedly, look-see-do doesn't mean you can do everything well just by watching. It's just that the starting point, technically called the floor, is at a much higher level than the average person. So, you can skip the beginner stage as soon as you learn and become an intermediate right away. Thanks to this, I can almost instantly acquire movements and senses below the intermediate level in any field, but to become like the master I just watched on UTV, I have to put in proper effort. Of course, I can momentarily upgrade my level by infusing magic, but it's only temporary, so it's more convenient to put in effort like this. From the start, I need much less effort than others, and I can reach high levels much more easily. Once I see something, I won't forget it and can naturally incorporate it into my body. Some might say I'm taking too much for granted, but isn't this much okay? I'm on borrowed time. Snip snip. I wiped the sweat flowing down as I trimmed the tree. This is surprisingly fun. I could make it a hobby. Done. Old man, how is it? I finished one. I called the old man after 15 minutes. One tree was well trimmed into a mushroom shape. Stop making noise, huh? The old man turned to look at me and his eyes widened. He almost fell off the ladder. Whoa. Be careful. What is this? Old man Belthose compared the tree I had trimmed and the tree he had just trimmed. Honestly, I did a little better. What are you? Where did you learn that? The flustered old man even spat out a dialect. I pulled out my smartphone from my pocket and grinned. It's called UTV. Old man,